8 hours of incredible siege have befallen us. They are now gone and in the past. Teams have been sent home, teams have progressed through to the playoffs, and today 4 more will be going in either direction once more. Welcome back to the Six Invitational 2020, joined by myself and, of course, Ace of Pyrite. The boys, Ace of Pyrite, that sounded like then, Ace of Pyrite. The boys from Britain in black and blue are back once again, and we're bringing you a wonderful fixture to kick the day off. But before we get into that one, Ace, let's reminisce for a moment. The games in the last couple of days have been phenomenal.
What a couple of days we've had. I mean, I think we knew what we were in for when we started back on Friday morning with Navi versus SSG. It really did set the tone for the few days that we're about to follow, and boy, have they not disappointed. We've had some absolutely astronomical fixtures, some unbelievable siege, and I just can't wait to see what's coming today and for the rest of the week. It's going to be unbelievable.
The desperation today for these teams is going to hit an absolute climax as well, because again, if you win today, you go through to the playoffs. If you lose, you go home. There are no more second chances. There are no more try-overs for these teams. You've got to get it right today, and that's it. That's as simple as it comes down to. And it sounds really high stakes because it literally is. We were speaking about this yesterday. For a lot of teams, you come here, you might get to stay for the rest of the event and enjoy the siege that you'll be able to spectate in front of you. The problem is, though, everyone wants to be on the stage, and nothing hurts more as a player to sit and watch others sitting where you should have sat. Again, yesterday, I think one of the big standout games for me, probably going to be the Dark Zero game.
Yeah, the Dark Zero game was absolutely huge. We were fortunate enough just to catch the end of that one after we finished with Fnatic FaZe, which in itself ended up as an unbelievable fixture, coming right down to the wire. So did Dark Zero versus Empire. Absolute props to Dark Zero. That is not because Empire weren't on the game. Empire certainly were on the game. They played extremely well. Dark Zero just took it up a notch and played even better. In a way, you look at Dark Zero, very structured team, and you've got to think, you know, I haven't seen the whole match. I hadn't had a chance yet. It was a late night finish for us last night, but I think, you know, did they out Empire, and they just came in and played that structure game even better.
I think you could say they did, because they managed to win that one out. But let's take a look at the bracket so you know what it is that we can be expecting coming into game number 1. We start off with Group B, as we always have. And this game breaks my heart a little bit. Na'Vi, the boys from the UK, of course, there's a bit of love here inside of our hearts. But TSM, the team in NA, on a meteoric rise, really making a name for themselves as the best team in NA, fell to Space Station Gaming yesterday in an absolutely mouth-watering series. 100% worth going back and watching that. And I think the saddest thing here is that for TSM and Na'Vi, both teams, I would say, deserve to be on that main stage. But unfortunately, only one of them can make it. It's NA or EU. Which one gets through at this point, it's anyone's guess.
We always knew that that was going to happen here in Group B. When the groups were drawn, I said this at the beginning, and I stand by it now. I looked at all 4, and I knew there was at least 3 teams in each one that had not just a shout, but a real opportunity, and you wouldn't be surprised to see 2 out of any of the 3 go through, and in some groups it was 4, particularly here in Group B. We had 4 teams that, to be honest, all deserve to be on the main stage, and the names that you would expect to be there. So we were always going to have 2 huge casualties.
Unfortunately, Rogue had the land debuff, and we saw exactly how that fixture played out yesterday against Na'Vi. A 0-2 in that fixture. But here are the ones you're going to see today. We're kicking things off with TSM versus Na'Vi before we step into Team Reciprocity against BDS Esports. Team Empire versus Fnatic will follow, and we will close the day with the All LATAM showdown of MIBR versus Team Liquid. That one will be exciting because it's a rematch of what we saw at OGA.
It's going to be a huge game, and if there is one thing that I can say about that schedule, it is do not go anywhere. You've got the opportunity now. It's a Sunday. I know some of you might be working, for which I apologise, but the majority probably sat at home. Get yourself some food, get some snacks, get some drinks. Don't go anywhere. You're going to have an unbelievable day of Siege. We're going to bring you the best that we can. Kixin in Terror will follow, I think. No, Blue and Stokes will be here for the second game. Kixin in Terror for the third. And then Des and I are fortunate enough to bring you that clash of the LATAM Titans in the 4th game.
Only because there's one player's name that I want you to scream at me for the entirety of that 4th match, but we'll save that treat for you later on. Let's take a look at the TSM lineup of Bolo, Geo, Achieved, Merc, and Pojo Man. Yesterday, the team were very vocal, none more so than Coach Bagel on Twitter, saying I don't know what happened today. It really wasn't our day. The boys were a bit more reserved than normal. There are things to fix for tomorrow. And coming in, he was saying to me, I am determined. Tomorrow is a 2-0. We are going to remind the world of why we are regarded as one of the best NA teams right now.
I love the rivalry that's building between TSM and SSG. We saw them play very recently in the Pro League, and there was a little bit of back and forth on Twitter afterwards, and then they've come here and we've seen a reverse of that result. SSG coming out successful this time, and they really are evenly matched. There is no discussion to say that one is, you know, so much further ahead than the other, and I love watching them two play now.
It's rivalry between TSM and Canadian at this point, it feels like. We've all been on Twitter, we've all seen what he's been saying, but let's see what we're saying about the lineup of Na'Vi on the other side. The majority of the boys from Britain, of course, with someone from Poland and Croatia mixed in. It's Nello, Citizen, Saves, Kendrew, and Pi. Yesterday, again, was a pretty close fixture, 7-5, 7-5, coming up against Rogue to find themselves where they are. They said themselves after day one, there are a lot of issues. There are trust issues, which is probably the most worrying thing. But they said yesterday they were addressed. They communicated much better inside the game. The morale was much higher, and they delivered a much more convincing performance. But is it really going to be enough to bring down TSM after what we saw from them back on day one?
This man in front of you right now, Saves, had a standout day yesterday on Coastline. I mean, I believe it's one of his favourite maps, and that certainly showed through. He really did make it very, very difficult for Rogues. And I mean, it was not an easy win, that. 2-0 does not really do it justice. As you said, 12 maps both times, and Aces, I think, got over 30 kills on the day and still came away with a loss. So that just goes to show how close that was, and also how much fragging that Navi needed to do to get through that one.
How much more they'll have to do today to contest with the likes of Merc on TSM, assuming he doesn't have a quiet day like he did yesterday. But before we get into talking this fixture a little bit more, let's go and have a look at the video of what these two teams think about this matchup.
I'm Kendrew, I play for Navi, and I'm the in-game leader and support player for Navi.
I'm Pojo Man, I play for TSM.
After beating Rogue 2-0, we're feeling good going into the next game.
We played SSG, and it was a pretty... Some maps were kind of close, but we kind of didn't play ourselves like how we normally would on the last map, and they just kind of took advantage of that and played their game, and we didn't play ours.
Our objective at the SI is to win. Anything else is a failure. It was the same at Japan when we won. We don't come here to compete, we come here to win.
For the next game, just make sure we're playing to our strengths and not letting them to play to theirs, and we should be fine.
After we lost the first game, we had a massive talk last night. We didn't really change much. We just talked, and we just sat and we talked, and we was like, these are our issues, this is your issue, this is your issue, no bars held. It was like truthful, honest conversation, and it looked like it worked.
We played Na'Vi next, and we're looking pretty confident going into that one. I think we faced the hardest team in EU already, so I think we should have no issues here.
I'd say that TSM are like us. They like to peak. They like to play these like Vigil, stuff like this, like the fast ops, Ash, do like just rushes and fast plays, because they're known for being a frag heavy team. So
they're pretty aggressive, but we're also pretty aggressive. So I think we just play our aggression smart, play with information, and just come out on top.
I think we're just going to peak them. That's what we're good at. They can peak people. We're going to peak them better.
Get ready. We're not making the same mistakes we did last time.
If I have a message for TSM, it'll be you better be hitting your shots, because we're going to come into the game warmed up and you're not going to be ready.
I like how both teams in that video are saying we like to play aggressive, we like to play fast, you better be ready to hit your shots, otherwise we are going to absolutely slam you. And TSM with a bit of shade as well, being like, well, we've already played the best EU team in Rogue, and that's like, ooh, you forget about the land debuff they've got, and you forget about the buff that Na'Vi have got. It's the anime redemption arc now. The Pro League champions fallen down a little bit, and now on this meteoric rise and want to get through to playoffs, and you cannot ignore that storyline that sits behind them.
You really can't. We're going to have a look now at where these two will throw down. Clubhouse being taken out, not too much of a surprise after Navi's performance against SSG there. You know, I think they've probably got a little bit of trauma left over from that one. SSG made them a very difficult day. Navi coming out with the Coastline pick, no surprise after how they played there yesterday. Had a great game. They were pushed all the way by Rogue, but I'm sure that they'll have some confidence. Consulate coming out for TSM. That could be a bold pick, and that could well decide how things go. They had a very good result, 7-3 versus Space Station Gaming yesterday on Consulate, but we know know that Navi are very confident on Consulate, so that is a bit of a statement from TSM.
I'm seeing this go all the way to Villa. Looking at those maps, both teams like Consulate. I'm kind of surprised TSM picked it up. Admittedly, they have played things quite well. And Coastline, a similar sort of story. It's not a team it's not a map, that either team are particularly uncomfortable with. And if nothing else, plays into this story that the teams were saying. We play aggressive, we play to go for kills. We're going to be in your face, taking those angles, and you best be ready. I can't think of a better map to demonstrate that than Coastline.
It really wouldn't surprise me to see this be one of those games where they actually take each other's maps. You know,
yeah,
we've spoken about how comfortable they are on all maps, but, you know, we'll see how that progresses. We're going to have a look now at our two players to watch. We've got Bolo and Nello. Do you know when Bolo plays, Des?
Right about now, actually, Ace. I'm so glad that you asked, and that question has finally been put to bed. But looking at the ratings on there, you can see the KD ratio standing up. Now, a few people looking might be saying, well, why are we picking two very different players in how they play? Bolo being more of one of the fraggers for the team, Nello the supportive player who tends to stick nearer the back. The key thing is that yesterday he had a lot of opportunity to charge forward and make things happen. Same back on day one as well. And I think with how both have performed, it was worth looking at them and saying realistically, both of them are going to have massive contributions to this game.
I'm pretty sure that I've seen some, I think it was maybe an interview somewhere where Navi was saying recently there's been a few minor role changes, nothing major within the team, but they've tried to focus on taking operators that they enjoy playing a little bit more, you know, rather than just being stuck on the same one all the time because that's what they play. And I think that's something that Nello has seen. You know, we've seen him playing some breakout operators that we wouldn't normally expect coming in from him. Interestingly, he is still locked deep into the SAS there. We could see his two key operators so far was still SAS picks, and I'm sure that's something that Nello will continue forward with, but his style of play just seems... The shackles have been off a little bit, and he's been, I remember once upon a day, you know, it was if you leave sight, then you're going to get team killed. And that was Nello locked into his cage on sight. But he just seems to have got a little bit of freedom.
Citizen there having a staring contest with the camera. I'm afraid it's not going to one that you're going to win because cameras never blink in case you haven't realised. But I hope you're ready in this game, ladies and gents. We're going into Coastline to get this best of three underway. It's all or nothing on day number 3. The winner goes through, the loser goes home. NA versus EU, let's do this.
Let's do this indeed as the bans start coming in very quickly. Navi wasting no time in taking Thatcher off the board there. We've already commented about how powerful Thatcher is becoming in this game. Every time a defender comes in with more electronics, more gadgets, it's a buff for Thatcher every time.
Going to probably see a bit of Mutant Mozzie being brought out here then as well, because the Thatcher being taken away on this map isn't so much to go through reinforced walls. In fact, really the only reinforced wall you have to worry about when assaulting in towards this map is the one that faces into courtyard from Billiards. That's because very commonly you'll find a defensive operator sat behind it, and Habana can go on the roof, open that up, and basically make it impossible to play behind there. But teams have many ways of dealing with that. We've seen some charging down hallway, some taking over the double window inside Billiards itself. Take your pick. And the final two bans coming through are the ones that you might very well come to expect. It's going to be Echo and Mira, part of that triad of bans that we often see, Maestro being the one that is left on the field.
Maestro, a great operator to bring some utility and some information to the team. Now, we might see a few Valkyrie picks today. There we go, straight away. Thank you, Navi. So, Valkyrie is sometimes an operator that we see with a slightly increased ban rate here on Coastline, much like on Consulate. There's plenty of external opportunity to get cams out there now. Looking across the board of selections there, Citizen on Ella is an interesting one, switches over to Vigil, but that suggests that Citizen's going to be out on a strong roam. I'm sure Saves will be joining him on the Jaeger, but how about that potential roam clearance coming in from TSM there, Des?
Bit of a ranked sweat stat coming out of TSM here to kick things off. I love it, seeing the Lion and the DKB coming in together. We were speaking a little bit about the Lion yesterday. DKB basically just doubles down on the power of drones. The normal idea is to drone someone out, you bring in the Lion scanner, that person cannot move because or else they will get constantly pinged by that scanner. Or they can stay in place and stay in place and get themselves shot because they know where they are through the drones. If they move, they get scanned out by the Lion. It's a lose-lose situation for you. The Decay makes it even more annoying because, of course, now they can hear you at the same time. That's why these two are regarded as a duo as very, very powerful, especially for those that roam off by themselves. In this case, you're looking immediately towards Citizen, towards Saves, who may be actually trying to use each other as a bait in this case, but the call coming in from DKB will let you know that there are two nearby, and it shouldn't be such a problem to deal with.
It's going to be a tricky one. We are today day being observed in game number 1 by Marciu, Superstar Observer, and he's just given us a nice little look at that new UI that we've got. So if you've not joined us yet, if you've not managed to find the time over the weekend and this is your first time with us, you will see that the screen looks a little bit differently. Thank you, Marciu. We've got a nice new UI that shows us all the gadgets, weapons, and information that we need about each player. The numbers across the top are kills, assists, deaths, and then the last one, the fourth, is objectives. So if they achieve a plant or anything objective based, it will count in there for you. So you can see at a glance quickly how players are performing throughout and what utility is available for the team.
Absolutely, a bit of a east side stat coming in so far for TSM as she qualified a few down here as well. Gio immediately out onto the drone. I think trying to identify where these roamers are is going to be pivotal coming through here. You can see one's actually lurking now inside a bathroom. I fully expect that is going to be Citizen. They need to deal with that early, mind you, because that clock doesn't wait for anyone. 60 seconds are gone, and they're still on the drones trying to find out where they are. And there comes the first scan. They know exactly where it is. This is what I meant. You're being seen out by the drones. They're going to know exactly where you are. And if you move while that Lion scanner is out, you are done for. And Pi has already gone down at the hands of Merc as he gets the first kill in this fixture.
Fantastic teamwork there. Citizen, however, trading that one back out. Citizen with a second. He's going to be an important player for Na'Vi today. Bolo gets in and will trade that out. And this early exchange is exactly what we expect from this game. I think it is very indicative of what we're about to see for the remainder of the day. My heart rate is already going through the roof. We're only in round number 1 here, and this could well be one of the most exciting fixtures that we will see here at Six Invitational, and it's certainly going to set a tone for the day. It's
like what we spoke about BDS yesterday and seeing Shaiko and Elens playing together. We were saying it's a roaming duo that will cause a bit of problems if you don't deal with them in the right way. And Citizen there has already found himself a couple of kills to open things out, and it was Bolo who had to swing in and make up for the mistakes made by Merc and achieved in not being able to bring him down. So Na'Vi have done the right work here. They've caused a bit of damage to TSM and got rid of the Buck. One of the key operators, of course, that soft destruction is so powerful on Coastline. Now, whether it's above or below, you can do an awful lot of work with that one. Immediately another smoke canister goes off. So that timer is running down now, and the final scan will come out from the Lion. 40 seconds are left in this round, and Pojo's going to find a kill onto Nello. Saves, trades that back onto Bolo elsewhere, which puts us down to a 2 versus 2. Pojo's going to get down here as well from the back of kitchen by the looks of it, and the final kill comes through from Kendrew. Saves and Kendrew coming up big at the very end there, and Na'Vi take round number 1.
Breaking that round down a little bit, it was fantastic work from Na'Vi. The two roamers, what you want from your roamers is you want them to waste time, and if they can get a couple of kills, then fantastic. Pi lost his life early on, but Citizen coming in with that big double kill, for me, that's the pivotal moment of that round, because if Citizen loses his life to Merc there, then the 5 versus 3, the roam game is gone inside a minute, and they are in big trouble. But Citizen comes out with 2 huge kills, gets traded shortly after, but it doesn't matter, because what we saw was, you commented on it, Des, the Buck had gone. So there was a very, very limited opportunity then to open up vertical angles onto site. You still had 3 Na'Vi players lodged into site. Not only that, but with 1 minute left on the clock, there was no progress towards site. So then that clock starts working against the attackers, ticking down. They have to start rushing into site, and then it was easy for Na'Vi to just pick up those kills as they did. So that's just a really nice demonstration for everybody at home there about how and why that roam game can be so, so important.
Key changes coming through in this round is that TSM have opted to drop one of their roamer hunters, shall I say. Lion is still on side. It was 6 picked in for the Decabi. She has now been dropped away, and the IQ has been picked up instead. They identified in that last round that we had, well, the Valkyrie on board, and without the IQ, it can be very tough to identify where some of those cameras get put. There are lots of brilliant little hidey holes for cameras on Coastline. However, this time round, Na'Vi have opted not to bring that, instead looking to play more of a style with the Maestro. That implies more you're going to see Kendry playing on site here as well. Very static in terms of the evilizers. They are normally placed on site, so you can see if someone goes in for a rush or a push. Otherwise, you've got Nello on the pulse. That could be the big play in this game. With him playing downstairs, it's going to force TSM to have to try and hunt him down first and kill him. Otherwise, they might find themselves in a spot of hot bother. Nello finds an opening kill onto Merc here in a very interesting place as well. I never thought I would see a pulse being that aggressive this early into the round. Normally, that goes down to Citizen on the Vigil.
Na'Vi are the style of team that will come out and try to be disruptive. They will try those unexpected plays. They're not as strictly structured as we see some. They're quite happy to take the gunfights. Bolo quite happy to take that one, though. He will delete Nello as he moves in to Sunrise. So that now leaves us 4 versus 4 with only a minute gone off the clock. So TSM not in terrible position here. They've managed to withstand that early onslaught, and they're now getting themselves established in the round.
It's a 4 versus 4 and the pulse is gone. Very crucially, that Nitro cell would have been so helpful if TSM were to try and rush in from the top. But like I said, TSM will do their due diligence. They're not a team that makes mistakes easily. They made sure they cleared up the downstairs before they started looking towards the upstairs. Things have kind of hit a bit of a lull now in the last 20 seconds or so since those kills were traded back, and it's more posturing and getting in position and making sure they know where Citizen is. Because no doubt they are aware that he is on the board. They already saw what the Vigil can do to them last round. They cannot afford to get blindsided by him.
They cannot clearing out the drone on Cool Vibes stairs there. I don't know if it would have been captured, or I think it might have been some utility actually. So they're going to be heading up the Cool Vibes stairs now to start applying some pressure to Pi on site in Hooker. Pi moves out to try and be aggressive, but Bolo is more than ready for that and gets the kill onto him. So that now leaves us 4 versus 3, and pressure is mounting from TSM. They have plenty of time here, and they have control over that blue stairs area. They are just looking to clear out the Maestro from behind the bar, but will be unsuccessful at the moment. He lives to fight another day. Kendrew not taking any shots there and managing to put the Alder to use with a kill onto Gio. He just slips away, and how about that? Citizen and saves with a quick double and a quick swing for Navi, taking the control of this round 3-on-1, and Citizen will be the one to finish things off. 2-0 now in favour of Navi.
Look at the smiles on their faces as well. They know this is going well for them so far on these first 2 rounds, and here is where you're seeing the strength of Vigil. Kendrew mentioned it in that video at the very start. Both teams like playing these roam-heavy, aggressive operators like the Vigil, because the instance there was, I think, at first I was afraid that Na'Vi had conceded too much control and given up Cool Vibes or Blue Stairs a bit too quickly, because you just saw TSM go for an outburst up there and send 2 or 3 that way, 2 or 3 out towards the Hooker balcony and start collapsing in from there. What they didn't account for was Vigil playing off down towards 90, so as soon as Citizen started roaming up, completely unawares, because drones can't see him thanks to his gadget, well, he was in a great spot to find those final last 2 kills, and there was zero expectation from TSM that he would be doing so. So well played and well timed from him to secure another round for Na'Vi.
Interestingly, TSM played Coastline during the Pro League season, and it was where they got that win against SSG 7-4. It was a close game, but the particularly interesting stat in there is that they won their attack 5-0. They actually struggled on the defence, going 2-4, and then they came back and run it back in with a 5-0 attack. Struggling on the attack here, so that gives big questions now as to if this trend can continue and Navi still manage to hold fast on these defences and get themselves a 4-2, even a 5-1 half. Do TSM have it in the locker to come out here and have successful defences?
I watched that game back as well at the time, and the defences were a little bit scrappy. There were rounds where it could have very easily ended up being 4-2 to TSM, but some rounds where SSG just really rallied and pulled through. But like you say, on the other half, SSG just didn't really show up, and well, TSM so far aren't showing up on the attacking side. And Coastline, I always say it about a lot of the maps that we cast, it's one of the maps that I think sits quite nicely between attacker and defender side. But once again, runouts are coming through. Not quite an injure coming down to Bolo, but he is very low HP. Why would you re-peek that saves? You've already done enough work there. Gets himself tagged out by Merc. That is unfortunate. This is why you don't double peek, but the C4 just a little bit too far to secure any kills. But Pojo Man is now down to 25 HP. That's 2 very low health members, as there is a very heavy Aqua and Office stack coming out of the side of TSM right now.
I don't know about you, Des, but this game is already getting a bit too intense for me. Saves coming out with a huge double peak, but Merc was more than ready for it and hit an absolutely beautiful headshot to take saves off the board. So once again, TSM find themselves at man advantage. They have control over Office and can start thinking about looking about that push onto Blue Bar. How are they going to do it? But they need to be very aware of those Navi roamers, and I think it might just be a little bit too soon yet to be pushing in too quickly. We've got Valkyrie just being pushed out of there. Kendrew with the drone in his face, knowing that he needs to move away. TSM just happy to hold some angles around Office now, see if they can pick up any movement in and around site. I don't think they'll be looking just yet to be thinking about getting that diffuser down, but we'll see how it progresses.
I think Na'Vi will be going, Na'Vi will be very blind about this attack coming out of TSM here as well, because with the IQ on side, they'll have got rid of those Valkyrie cams. My issue here is the TSM are pushing from exactly the same angle. One gets taken down, yet another run out comes through from Na'Vi. It's immediately traded back by Pojo Man, mind you, but they are struggling here. They've managed to get themselves inside the site and going for a plan, and Na'Vi are sitting so deep inside the site here that they have no way of stopping this. And now TSM have got the diffuser down. All they've got to do is sit and wait. The onus shifts onto Na'Vi to make this work.
Clever play from TSM here, and this is a great example of one way to deal with roamers. Pojo, Man and Merc coming out with a quick double there to defend that diffuser that's on the ground. Pi has it all to do. He's been stunned, he's gled down, he's really going to struggle here in the 1 versus 4. He's got lion scans coming in, he's got drones. You've got a feel for Pi here. We've all been in that situation where everything is running against you, and this one is certainly going to be difficult. I think this will definitely be TSM's round as it goes in that direction. The point that I was making is TSM have recognised there that in the first couple of rounds they were struggling against that roam game. They got hurt a couple of times with it. So what they've done is, that's a site that you can do that. Blue bar, you can just get in, get control of office. You've got to sort of be aware about Aquarium because there are vertical angles that people can challenge you from, but the droning going on through there forced Kendrew away, which prevented that happening. Well played from TSM. And they just took their opportunity to dive into site and get the diffuser down. And what that does is it actually takes them roamers completely out of the game, because at that point, if you've got, for argument's sake, Citizen over in Theatre, what impact can he have on the round from there? Absolutely none. So well played, TSM.
Absolutely. I think for Na'Vi, again, once the IQ got in and took out the Valkyrie cameras as well, they were running blind essentially, so we're playing very, very defensive, kind of sat way back inside of Sunrise. We saw a couple off towards lobby, like you say, and a couple of roamers upstairs as well. This is the problem that some teams do when they go for both a vertical and a horizontal hold, is that you spread yourself far too thin. There was no one to contest inside of office. Outside of the C4s and the 2 runouts that we saw, Na'Vi didn't really do much in that round. They were too busy being quite defensive, I think, and were worried that if they tried to push in blind, they would find themselves losing fights, and they'd be quite right in that assumption. They should probably try and take a leap out of what BDS did against them, actually, when they played against each other not too long ago. What BDS did was stick both Shaiko and Alems inside of office and say, you know what, this is our ground and no one takes it away from us. And Na'Vi for 2 or 3 rounds really, really struggled to get control of office and couldn't stage a push in towards the south side of the map. So next time round, maybe be a little bit more aggressive and look to hold it a bit closer, because that round was giving it over to TSM for free, really. However, we can't take it away from TSM. They survived C4s, they survived 2 runouts, and still managed to get the plant down and win that round out.
I think, yep, you're absolutely right there, Des, and I think that's a lesson that's going to be learned. I liken it to Consulate, admin in Consulate. You're going to see an admin push, people just rush in there sometimes, and if you give up that ground, you start feeling a lot of immediate pressure into meeting, and you've got to be very careful. And office, I feel, is exactly the same. Sometimes it's better to just have a defender in there and to really hard defend it and make sure that the shots coming in as people try to push there, because if you give it up, as Navi did there, it can be a real strong beachhead, and I'm sure that that's something Navi will learn from.
They've conceded a lot of the west side of the map here as well. Very common when defending kitchen and service to normally have someone playing inside of Sunrise off towards the west. And that's normally because it slows down the attackers, often to place a shotgun in behind the bar itself, and to force the attackers to have to take more time to get themselves set up is normally the play. Here though, 30 seconds in, they've got full control of Sunrise, they've got full control of office, they're pushing themselves in. What I want to see here is what Citizen is going to do, because he can roam here through luggage on the top floor and potentially cause some chaos if he chooses to, but it's Kendrew causing some chaos on the Mozzie right now as he brings down Bolo, and the Zofia has been removed.
Kendrew showing how useful that super shorty can be to create his rotations and move around. He's on a big rotation here where he could really cause some mayhem to the TSM players in Sunrise. We can see there, and so can Kendrew. There is the kill through onto Merc, and that leaves us now 5 versus 3 in favour of Na'Vi. Saves will make it 5 versus 2 with a kill onto Gio. Pojo Man, however, fighting back here with 1 onto Nello, and that now leaves us in a 2 versus 4. TSM have got a lot of work to do, but they've certainly got players on the board who can do it. Achieved is just looking to see what angles he can get. I think he's aware there's potentially somebody out in courtyard, but he's suffering some pressure as well from the blue bar. We can see Kendrew just moving around, but he will get caught out there as he strays across the line of sight of Achieved, who will take absolutely no bones about removing Kendrew from the map.
It was so great to see that move from Kendrew, and really for TSM there should have been that communication that you've lost 1 in courtyard and he should be swinging through now to watch down towards blue bar, where there is the full expectation that a Mozzie can rotate through. A 1 versus 1 coming through for Achieve that he will lose as Citizen swings into action as the last man for Na'Vi and makes it happen for them, and a 4-1 goes in their favour, now up to 3-1 in map score.
For anybody who was going to ask the question, how did Citizen get in there behind him without him being aware? We just caught a glimpse of it on the kill cam there. Citizen using the hatch that drops through from Hooker Lounge down into Sunrise to drop down behind him, and that just shows the power of verticality in Siege. If it's something that you may be a little bit new to, Most of the floor in Coastline can be destructed, and that's why we talk about top floor control so much, because you can get in there for a bottom floor objective particularly, you can rip that whole floor up, but there's also some really key hatches that allow for great rotation. There's one in Penthouse that allows you to drop into main lobby, which is often a bit of a free area sometimes, so it allows you a nice easy rotation option, and then there's that one that Citizen just used, which drops from Hooker, the bottom left of your screen right now. It drops from Hooker down into Sunrise, and again, with there only being 2 staircases on Coastline, you're very limited sometimes, and if you get operators like Nomad being brought, sometimes those air jabs or the track stingers of somebody like Gridlock just completely cut off those stairways and make rotations from even top floor down to bottom very, very difficult.
Absolutely, and we've already seen the chaos being caused by Citizen, and for TSM in that last round, they have full control of that west side of the map, but first, upstairs, downstairs, you name it, it was all their territory. Again, it's small things there, the communication. If someone's died in courtyard, they may well find themselves rotating through into blue bar right now, because Kendra, although he couldn't find the first kill with the initial punch hole that he put through, he definitely found it with the second and then rotated away, safe that he managed to get that kill. Did get down by Achieved on the other side of things, but by then it was already a 1 versus 4. So take map control, absolutely, but be willing to make sure you're ensuring the ground that you've already covered is still yours. People can slip through the net sometimes, and you can see the kind of damage that it can do in that last round. We're rotating back up now to Hooker and Billiard to the upstairs play. And once more, TSM have got control of Office pretty much for free right here. It's free real estate, as they say. I believe last time around it was a Pulse as well that caused them quite a headache when it was Nello charging right up to the door here on service and downing someone on their entry in towards the building. This round he is playing on the Legion instead. We're seeing Pi retain that Mozzie, I think because they know the drone work from TSM has been pretty impeccable so far. They've always got inside the building, and in about 50 to 60 seconds in the round, everyone stops, gets onto the drones, whilst 1 or 2 more continue taking ground. And here they just want to try and slow that game down a little bit, starve TSM of the intel they rely on, which no doubt is a massive thing as a coordinated team that you need that intel. Kendry finds one, tries to get a second in desperation with the pistol, but Pojaman is there waiting with a much bigger gun, points it at Kendry, and quite aptly, Kendry will die.
That's a big loss for Achieved there. He's missed his shots as he's come in. I'm not criticising too heavily. Gunfights are over quickly, but Kendry did well to win that one. I'm pretty sure Achieved was aware of his location, and another good one from Pi there. We expect from Merc and Achieved, these big fragging players, we do expect to see them winning those gunfights more often than not, and they just seem to be struggling a little bit. Pi with a good second on the round off Mojo, but Bolo will step in and get one for TSM, taking the head off saves, so that now leaves us in a 2 versus 3. Geo and Bolo, they've got the talent, they've got the ability, they are more than capable of doing this. One thing that is going to go against them is that the diffuser is currently cold on the ground outside along with that body. Geo will get the first of 3 that they need though with a kill onto Pi, so that now leaves us 2 versus 2. Diffuser still down but will be retrieved very soon. Geo still has a Lion scan available, and that could well be pivotal in this late round.
The thing is though, really for the members of Na'Vi, they haven't got to move here as well. There is 60 seconds left, so still quite a bit of time, but as long as they're holding the right entryways in towards sites, they shouldn't find themselves in too much bother. Now Geo getting that all too familiar, no doubt, for TSM. Signs around his screen that Citizen is nearby on the Vigil. They don't know exactly where, but generally if you know this game to the extent these guys do, you're going to know the more common positions as to where a Vigil may be sat. So it becomes a bit of a guessing game, and he hasn't lost that drone, still got it available to him, so can make use of that when trying to go in here. If the UI is anything to go by, and we're not 100% sure it's always right now, Bolo doesn't have any drones left, so it's all down to Geo with the one that we saw him on to give the intel over to Bolo on his push in. We've seen what he can do before, and we know that he can frag out. Pushing in now, trying to scray in behind the bar. Knows there's one lay down there, but I don't think he really knows quite where, because the answer is no one's there right now, but they will lay down, stands up, and unfortunately, Bolo is there waiting, and a great round for TSM to bring that one back from the jaws of defeat.
What a great round from the duo of Geo and Bolo there. Watch that one back. That is how you play in a man deficit situation. They went in, they got the kills that they needed. They weren't panicked by the fact they only had 20 seconds left on the clock. It would have been easy to go in there and start trying to get that diffuser down, but it was more important to ignore that and work as a duo there. So what we talk about when we're in that situation is having an ability to impact on the kill even if your teammate loses his life. That's what's important. The last thing that you want is Bolo, for argument's sake, or Geo, to be in a situation where they're in the diffuser animation and the other one dies, because at that point they can do nothing to impact it. They're in a 2 versus 1 where Na'Vi have a couple of seconds to react and get themselves trained onto where that diffuser was going down. As it stands, by not doing that, were Geo or Bolo to lose their lives, the other one is already ready in their ADS and they can trade that kill out immediately and go to a 1 versus 1 at least. So a great decision-making process from them, and that is one to watch by back if you're interested in how to win in that situation.
Discipline, I think, is the key word I would use for how that played out.
Absolutely.
They were very cautious, get the diffuser, push together, don't try and push solo. Let's make sure we're focusing on this as a cohesive unit and make sure we're using drones even with 60 seconds left on the clock. But now going into the final defensive round of this half for Na'Vi, we are seeing the Mute and Mozzie being brought out. Equally on the other side, Merc is even bringing along the Jackal, so a couple of changes coming in for both sides here. This might make Citizen's life a little bit tougher, although I feel in the last couple of rounds, TSM's done a pretty good job of making Citizen less effective. They've ignored him for the most part, either pushing as a group or really making him have to get involved later into the round when he is less impactful. And that's a good way to negate a gunner like him, who, as we have seen so far, especially back in round 1, has the capability to bring down 2 or 3 members if he's left unchecked.
I just want to mention Marciu again there. I know we've mentioned him a couple of times, but our observers have been absolutely amazing here at Six Invitational. Marciu and Medics have both done an outstanding job. And what you just saw there was Marciu had recognised Saves was on the aquarium door looking for a potential peek. So he gave us a very nice aerial view to see where people had spawned. So we knew that it wasn't coming. But those two guys, you know, they can be the unsung heroes sometimes. We get a break on day 1 and 2. They don't, and they carry on throughout the day.
I'm so glad they do today.
They do get a break today. They alternate today. But they've done a fantastic job. So, you know, massive props to them too.
And here we go, nice early fight coming in here inside of Pentas and Theatre. It's like watching round 1 all over again, but Pi isn't the opening death this time. In fact, he's going to find 1 kill for himself, almost gets a second. However, the back away comes through just in time, and Pojo will stay alive, albeit on reduced HP, as is Pi. Now, this is all down to wasting time here. This is exactly what Romers are set up to do, as it looks like Citizen was trying to go for a run-out, run straight into the Claymore of Geo, and that now leaves Pi pretty much all by himself to hold down this side of the map, unless he's rotated away. Either way, he will now die. It looks like he was down outside trying to cause some chaos in main lobby as well.
So we find ourselves in a 4 versus 3, an advantage TSM in this round. They just feel to have a bit of momentum. They've cleared out those roaming operators, and that is something that they've really needed to start focusing on doing. The rounds that Na'Vi have won have generally been away from site. When pressure has ended up directly on site, as we saw it did last round with Geo and Bolo getting into the hooker and billiards site, that's when they tend to start losing those rounds. What hasn't been successful to TSM is always clearing out these roamers, and sometimes then they've been hurt by them, but they've done a much better job this time. They're in a position of 4 versus 3 now, and they can start thinking about positioning themselves and executing themselves onto site. Na'Vi are going to have to do better than they have previously with those site defences.
Intel is what's going to hurt here as well, because despite him being dead, Pi still has those pests out on the field, as we all know. You've also got Mute Jammer set up, and you can see the angles being held out here. In fact, Nello quite deep inside the hallway. They know that no drones can get up the stairs behind them, so he's pretty safe here holding on the corner. And that smoke grenade coming out should give a bit of an angle for the members of TSM to move forwards here, but no such joy just yet. What you are seeing, though, if you see on your screens now, Achieved and Geo have moved over to the hooker balcony. They've cleared out Penthouse with the rest of their team, and now everyone has moved. Some more angles are being set up, and TSM are trying to force Na'Vi into taking unfavorable fights due to the crossfires. We're even seeing Merc walking straight up here as well. Walks a bit blind, straight into a shotgun from Nello, and gets himself taken down as he was hanging off towards the right-hand side. And next one comes through, you can see the gun, and Nello finds the second shotgun kill. There's one left on the window. Saves brings him down. Saves gets the last one, and that is anchor play, ladies and gents. Saves and Nello being the workers in that round.
For me, Nello, as I've said many times over the last 6 to 12 months, Nello is one of the best site players in the game. He wasn't, I'll give him that one, he wasn't quite in there. I think he was just in the corridor outside. But generally speaking, he is one of the best site anchors in the game. He knows, and we've watched this over the 18 months that we've had the pleasure of watching this team, he knows every angle, every inch of those sites. And what an interesting view we had there of how a team's utility can actually work against them. So they were going in, Merc was moving in under the cover of smoke there. He'd laid down a smoke grenade to obscure the view so they weren't aware that he was pushing behind bar. As he got there, there's nobody there. What's going on? And Nello had used the cover of that smoke against him and just had that shotgun to hand, and it was an easy kill for him. And then he stepped up, as you say, saw the barrel of Geo's gun, moved around the corner, and it was pretty much good night from there with Saves finishing things off. But what a great round there from Na'Vi to take it 4-2. I really don't know which way this is going to go. As I commented, TSM did struggle on defence against SSG, but it depends if we see Na'Vi managing to carry that momentum forward and keep winning those gunfights. Two players that I'm really interested to watch here, keep your eyes on them, Merc and Bolo. On the Mozzie, on the Vigil, this roam game is going to be important.
And let's not forget as well, they are inflicting the same pain back onto Na'Vi that Na'Vi did in the last round. The reason why they had no idea where Nello was because of the intel blackout that we saw thanks to the Mute and the Mozzie. The same thing is coming through now on the other side, and just like they spoke about in the video, Vigil is being brought by TSM as well for Merc this time round. The very interesting pick I'm curious to see the effects of for Na'Vi though is going to be this Nook. We saw Rogue using it very effectively in Pro League and working wonders by literally charging their way down the corridor and catching a couple out. Nello's even brought along the Nomad here as well, I think because there's some expectation that there might be some runouts. We saw quite a few coming through from Na'Vi in the first half, and they're trying to be conscious of that and making sure they don't get picked off by a similar fate.
What I like to see there was, as they spawned in, we could see all of Na'Vi on their drones there. We had Merc at the double window looking for a potential peek, and you couldn't maybe quite notice it, but as Nello was moving around the corner, you could just see from his character there, his character animation, that he was in his ADS. He was aware, he was checking those windows for peaks, and they're not going to lose men to jump outs and peaks like TSM did once or twice. They're going to be very careful about that. But it's absolutely no surprise to see these roamers being so influential on these rounds, because ultimately TSM and Na'Vi are teams that play with a relatively similar style. Quite free-forward, not too structured, rely on the talent and the gun skill within the team to take and win fights. So it's no surprise to see them just meeting all over the map. Very few of these rounds have come down to being directly site focused. The gunfights are going on all over the place. I'd be interested to see it as like a heat map. I'm sure the entire thing could be red, and it's no surprise with these two teams.
We'll always say that defenders determine the strats, but it's the attackers that determine the pace of play. And from Na'Vi so far, it has been a little bit slower than what we saw coming out of TSM. No hard resistance being met around the map for them, but just being a bit more meticulous, it feels, in terms of their setup to make sure they aren't being caught out. And that's exactly why they're bringing things like the Nomad there, just to try and fence TSM in and say you can't go into these areas unless there is an air jab waiting for you. But the media blackout, again, is what hurts for them here, I think. Having the Mute and the Mozzie on side, it does mean for Na'Vi it's going to be hard pressed, because they're going to have to face check a lot of angles potentially to make this work. They've now got 3 set up inside of office, mind you. They've got Geo off towards the right-hand side inside of security. Saze is going to start pushing down there and might yet find himself inside some trouble. Depends if Geo finds his place. Shotgun might be a better thing right there. He sees him run, but there was a grenade in Saves' hand, which will not help him out in this instance. Now they're going to push around as well. He knows that he's locked down, but Geo didn't have to move. He was already ready, watching that angle absolutely perfectly. And down goes Saves. Nello also dropping elsewhere. So TSM biting back here against the fencing in operation that Na'Vi are trying to set up.
Very important gunfight there between Saves and Geo. Geo playing it absolutely perfectly, just moving himself and taking the gunfight on his terms, not allowing himself to be bullied. Just moves away from the grenade and gets himself a favourable angle. Pi comes out with 2 huge kills onto Pojo and Merc there though, and that will bring us back into a 3 versus 2. Geo with 1 onto Kendrew, so now it is all down to Pi. He's had a couple on the round already, but it will be an ace if he completes this. He gets the first kill onto Geo, starts to get the diffuser down. Is he going to stick this here? Achieve takes a jump. The air jab could be crucial there, just defending Pi, but no, he doesn't manage to react to the window quite quickly enough. Achieve gets back inside and will be successful disabling that diffuser. Very well played again from TSM there. I think those early gunfights between Geo and Saves really set that up for the round. As you say, there was control over office, which we saw how vital that can be. TSM did exactly the same thing and managed to get in and get a successful plant down. As it was, Na'Vi didn't quite hassle them just the same, so TSM really learnt from their own success there. They thought, well, you know what, we were largely left alone in there, and that was the reason we won that round, so we're not going to make the same mistake. Geo, in security, took the gunfight on his own terms. Excellent play.
What I found really interesting was Na'Vi's approach there. You saw in the final couple of fights coming through, well, the one came through after he was already dead, so it didn't matter too much, but there were 2 air jabs going off. One outside the windows, we saw the rotation coming in from upstairs after the jump out the double window. The other one on the entryway from the hallway in towards Blue Bar. And that just kind of goes to show that even though Nello had died about a minute or so prior, the whole intent from Na'Vi was to take over Blue Bar and go for a plant inside there. Everything else they did was kind of trying to surround that. And TSM, like you say, played very well into it. They sat back and said, look, you guys want to take the ground, that's no problem for us. We're still confident we can close this round out because you have no idea where we are. We've got a Vigil on side as well. We are making your life a living hell right now. And both teams playing with this Mute Mozzie and Vigil combo set up every single round except for this one that we're now coming into. You can see the effects that it's having, especially on the attackers who are feeling a bit strained there and a bit unsure of exactly where is safe for them to push.
I think this match so far is turning out to be everything that all of us could have hoped for. It's absolute edge of the seat, tense stuff, 4 versus 3 as it stands. I know that Des is going to comment that I'm not even sat down when I say that, but it is certainly the feeling that I get. The heart rate is up, and this is an unbelievable display of Siege that we are seeing so far. I commented, I think it was in the SSG Navi game, that it was like watching an unstoppable force against an immovable object. Well, how's about we have 2 unstoppable forces and we see what happens when they crash together?
It absolutely is coming out that way. Just for the curious, by the way, 4 opening kills so far to the side of Na'Vi, 3 to TSM, which lines up perfectly with the round score on the board. Not quite a perfect correlation between opening kills and rounds won, but you can generally see that trend does tend to prevail across series. Now seeing, of course, a new site come into play altogether, downside in service and kitchen. And initial start for Na'Vi on the east side, taking over the top floor, it seems. Very common thing to do, again, because you're worried that if there are any defenders upstairs, they can give you hell on your entry in towards the site. But also because when you have shotguns inside, as you have in the case here of Saves and Citizen on the Buck and the Jackal respectively, you can start tearing up that floor. And I always love referring to this site because it is the best example of a retake I think you will see. Very commonly, once that floor starts getting opened up by the attackers, defenders will disperse from the site and spread around it a little bit. And as soon as the attackers look to try and make something happen, that is when they flood back in and really try and crush down on the attackers as they try and go for a plan. But already this has become very much so a contested place here on Coastline between these two teams. Bit of a war going on inside of Penthouse, and Achieved still holding it down against the aggressors after Na'Vi have already lost 2.
Achieved doing a fantastic job of just standing his ground there and preventing this push from Hall of Fame. The challenge comes in and he won't lose too many hit points. He's down just above half there. Bolo with a kill onto Kendrew. Citizen trading that one straight back out. And that's something that Na'Vi have done well so far throughout this game. Watch for that continuing, is every time they lose a man, they do get a kill in return, and that keeps them reasonably level in terms of man count. They are 4 versus 2 at the moment. They've lost a couple extra than they've managed to get, but something overall through the match that I think Na'Vi have done quite well. One thing they haven't done very well in this round is to dislodge Merc. He's still playing out in the back of theatre, and they have not been able to do anything. Now, Na'Vi have had to resort to just dropping away from that top floor and saying, you know what, we're probably not going to get those roamers cleared out. We're down to 45 seconds. We need to start thinking about site. We are 2 versus 4. The first thing that they need is a couple of picks, and that is one of them. Citizen onto Geo. So now he's using that Jackal track to the best of his ability, scanning that footprint, picking out the ones that are fresher so that he gets more pings. He knows that there's
no way!
Challenge from stairs, and what a kill from Citizen, giving him the turn and burn, flips 180 and wipes Merc out from the stairs.
They do have a Jackal track down here as well, but they aren't aware, I don't think, of the man that's a little bit closer to them here playing inside of service. Pojo, the support, could be the massive spoiler for them here. They've rotated one out towards kitchen, so they can't trade one another. Here he goes, they're down, and that's the end of that one. TSM defending very well on site, and the anchor play coming through from Pojo and Achieved is enough to close that one out. Gotta say, those aren't the kind of kills you should be missing. I forget who it was, from stairs down to the south, that should have been a free kill onto Citizen that was missed.
Really should have been. Merc had such a good round up to that point, and I just feel like I don't want to get on Merc's back. He does just seem to be struggling to get into this game a little bit on the sort of level that we would normally expect to see from him. He's had, his map possession, his map control has been pretty good, but overall, kills-wise, I think he's 6 and 7 at the minute. He's really down there on the rankings that we might expect to normally see from him, and it's gunfights like that that aren't really indicative of his ability. You would normally expect Merc to win that out every single time. Citizen had his back to him, the shots came in, and he had time to flip around and hit the headshot. It also goes to speak for the quality of Citizen's gun skill and his ability to hit that headshot at that range. I think it was on a holographic. I'm not sure he was even on the ACOG.
I think it was initial down and then a headshot to follow up and get the kill, because it was kind of a charge at the stairs where he sprayed into his legs, and as he fell to the ground, found that headshot. But 4 and 4, so a bit of a turn in fortunes for TSM compared to what we saw against them for SSG. You're pointing at a number, I want to know what it is.
Plus 37. Merc in the first half of the Pro League season has gone plus 37 in terms of kills and deaths, and that is absolutely huge. It's one of the biggest in the entire Pro League. I think there might be one higher. I think Aces was higher in Europe, and he was pushing, I think, plus 41. But that just goes to show you don't get those sort of stats missing shots like that.
Absolutely not. And the other thing is, Merc didn't have the best day yesterday either. I think he was bottom of the rating board for his team. It's been a bit of a quiet land for him, all things considered. No doubt if they carry on, there will be some work done done in the next couple of days ahead of playoffs to help getting set up for that one. But with how close this series is, I think it's still very early to talk about which team looks like the one going through to playoffs, as both have played absolutely phenomenally so far. We are being treated to some great siege. And Marcy's highlighting it. I see you, my man, don't worry. For TSM, every single member has got 6 kills.
Yep, Pi coming out with a very important early kill on to achieve there. If Navi want to have any success on these attacks, they need to be dealing with those roamers that are holding those difficult areas. Achieve being one of them. We've seen him do that successfully a couple of times so far. Merc being the other. We saw him wasting minutes there in the theatre, and that is exactly what TSM need from those two. Bolo coming in with another good kill. He's on a good game so far. He's got 7 kills to his name. He's going to be looking for a few more, but he takes the head off Nello there, and that leaves us 4 versus 4 with some decent early progress from Navi here. They are moving in. They've got control over Aquarium. They need to think about luggage, obviously, but they're in a position to start thinking about potentially looking for a plant.
One hanging around downstairs as well, so both vertical, well, horizontal and vertical control is now starting to be established. You can see the idea being set up here. Take control of Aqua and you go for what we call the default plant. Right in behind the bomb, as you can see just a second ago. Took it in nicely and hopefully don't find yourself getting C4'd by the defenders. Citizen is down inside the kitchen. Needs to be careful because Merc isn't too far above him either way. So I imagine his aim here is to assault in towards Cool Vibes and draw out some attention towards the north side so that the other two remaining down towards the south can make some magic happen in going for a plant. That scan coming out of the line will be very useful when going for that plant because defenders can't move without being tagged down. If one is covering whilst one plants, it's going to work wonderfully for them.
You'll expect to see potentially that diffuser being moved into a position to be planted here. They will need to bait out utility like these nitros that will be used and the toxic babe canisters to prevent that plant going down. But with 50 seconds left on the clock, Navi have started with plenty of time to go here. The toxic babe canisters themselves can waste about 30 to 40 seconds. Citizen with a great downstairs. Bolo saves, however, will be challenged and taken off the board by Gio. So that now leaves us in a 3 versus 3. I'm not sure if Gio has still got his nitro available or not on the mute. It doesn't matter. A Citizen takes him off the board. Pojo man trading that back out, and this round and whole match is just an absolute slugfest here as kills go backwards and forwards. We can see the diffuser going down with Pi now. However, Kendrew will be taken out, and it's easy then for Merc to step round the corner. Merc answering my questions immediately, stepping up when his team needs him, preventing the diffuser going on the ground and becoming active, and getting 2 important kills to put TSM in the lead, 5-4 here, and in danger of taking Navi's map from them.
I've got to give a shout out to Pojo man and all this as well, because when you look across this lineup for TSM, there are lots of people who say, you know, Pojo doesn't really get frags, but he's still very, very central to this team. He's currently sat at 7 kills, one of the kill leaders for his team right now. He is having a phenomenal game playing on the anchors, mainly on the smokers we have seen. So fair play to him here for having a really standout game as well. And what a game to be doing it in. 5-4 currently to TSM, undefeated in this half of the game. And we are in a bit of a tactical timeout. There's also been a minor disconnect, so we'll get that amended for one of the members from TSM. But once that's sorted, of course, we'll be straight back into things. And for Navi, I think it's a good time to have a bit of a talk here as well. Again, this half has not been theirs.
Yeah, Navi have taken the tactical timeout. I think TSM, I don't know whether they were maybe having a slight issue or something, just took the opportunity to drop out and load back in just to prevent, I don't know, it could be, you know, one of a myriad of things. But Navi, more importantly, taking a tactical timeout here, and I think it's the right time for them. They've lost a good few rounds on the bounce now. That's 3 rounds consecutively that TSM have come in and taken. Momentum and aggression can be very important in Siege, and when that confidence starts building, when you feel like you've got your opponent on the ropes, them gunfights just start going in your favour. You start hitting those shots that little bit more. We saw that from Merc. Had so far a little bit of a sort of a mixed bag coming through. He's missed a couple of shots that you really would expect him to hit, but that shot onto Kendrew there particularly, that was the moment that the round was won for TSM, and Merc just taking a really nice peek around the bomb there, just head glitching it a little bit just to make himself a difficult target, and gets himself a fantastic kill on a very skinny angle. So coming into round number 10 then, we are 5-4 in favour of TSM. Would you be surprised to see any overtime, Des? I did say yesterday I have a habit of casting games that go 12 plus rounds.
We'll see the effect of that timeout a second ago, but the effect already is pretty immediate. Nello coming out on the Monty here with the Finker and the Lion joining together there. That's a really interesting setup, as now, of course, with Finker having grenades, they've now got 4 grenades on side, they've got smokes to play with, and Kendrew is still playing on that Lion. As for TSM, they have no reason to change what's been working for them so far so ridiculously well. The Mozzie and the Mute combo returns, Merc is out on the Vigil, and Pojaman, why would you put on anything else? He's back on that smoke once more.
He's been playing so well on it, as we've said. He's one of those players that doesn't necessarily, he's not a Hollywood player, as I like to call them sometimes, not necessarily coming out with 15, 20 kills in a round, but the things that he does for his team are so essential. Siege is a team game, remember, and it is all those moving parts coming together. It's fantastic having players that go out and get the limelight with all those kills, but whilst that's happening, somebody like Pojaman basically just facilitates a player like Merc, because he doesn't need to worry about the site. He doesn't need to worry about what's going on down there, because he knows that Pojaman's got it locked down. He doesn't need to worry about having the diffuser in hand. All he needs to do is go and click heads.
Don't forget as well about the small interaction you have in this round, because we're seeing a Finker on board and there is a smoke as well. That smoke becomes so much more ridiculously deadly. If you walk into that whilst you are boosted up by Finker, you will die in less time than you would normally. I think it works out to be about half or so. It's painful. That makes Pojaman even more deadly in this round than he is normally, and given how he's played the rest of this map, that's already very, very deadly.
So we've got Navi bringing some interesting strats out here. We've got Nello on the Montagne, which is not something that we see too often. We did see Pengu put in that to great use yesterday on Cafe, being one of the most famous Montagne players that we've got. We'll see how this develops. Generally speaking, Montagne serves two functions. If you're newer to the game, you may not be aware. You don't see him too often, but he will A, serve to push players out of locations. You want him to move players around, and the second function that he fulfills is information gathering. So he can move in there behind that complete full shield, and he can just feed information back to his team. There's very little that the other team can do about it. Explosives and toxic babe canisters he is susceptible to, but so long as he's careful and doesn't expose his back, he can give some vital information to his team.
They're taking a lot of time taking over pool entrance though here. You did see Pi a second ago, as he is now hovering off down towards the south, just so they know what gadgets they're walking into. The answer right now is not a whole lot, but might yet find themselves getting jumped out, and if they're not careful, now they're taking a little bit of damage there from that smoke as it comes out. The issue here is they're taking so long to start their move in that you've got all these gadgets to now start worrying about from the side of TSM, not least the smokes. We've just seen the first one come out from Pojaman here. They've got to be careful. Citizen all the way back still inside spawn as well, rotating out of ruins now to come and join his team.
So we are down to 35 seconds. Lion scan coming in, which would suggest that Navi are now thinking about getting themselves into that plant position and putting the diffuser down. I think Nello is going to do exactly that. He puts the shield on Montagne's back and does offer him some protection. Now that is fantastic cover from Kendrew and Pi. The crossfires have been established and are working well. Geo and Achieve managed to get a double. Kendrew trades one out. Pi with a Claymore kill as Achieve goes for a jump out. Geo, however, will trade that essentially straight back out. We are now 2 versus 1 with the diffuser down, and Geo has a huge task at hand. He throws the nitro to prevent anybody moving through that door, particularly the Montagne. He moves to challenge him, and this is what we see. The Kendrew will have an easy shot all the way through from Blue Bar, a hole that had been opened up previously by him. I think it was actually the rotation there, yes, we can see, and what a great kill to finish things off. Nello played that perfectly, didn't get too aggressive. That's exactly what you want from your Montagne player. Getting a disable on a diffuser whilst there is a Montagne left on the opposition team is always going to be a huge ask.
It gives you a massive headache, and you can see why teams like Fnatic, I'm very expecting a ban from them later against the Monty. They banned it away when they were coming up yesterday against FaZe. I think on 2 of the 3 maps they played, actually, they had that banned away, which just goes to show how worried they were about it. Now, the Blackbeard pick probably suggests it's a bit of a bait coming through here, and they are going to change over to the Monty once again. And quite aptly, Merc says, you know what, okay, let's drop away from what we were playing before, let's bring the Legion, because we saw this a couple of times on Clubhouse yesterday, how bullied a Monty can be when it comes up against facing Gumine. You put one behind him and he can't rotate freely, put one in front of them, he can't rotate forwards. It becomes a headache to deal with, but we're still seeing Na'Vi commit to making use of this Monty. On this side, it's very common to use one to push in towards service entrance towards the east. You smoke it out, you go in, you plant, you get out, you watch the bomb from outside. It's as simple as that. Of course, same things are simple in Siege. Things are never quite simple. There's a lot of complications that come into it. What I fully expect we'll see is Na'Vi going for an assault on towards the top floor first. Saves on that buck, definitely the big indicator of that. get the floor opened up, make it a lot safer for the Monty to go for that plan, and then the rest of them will move in from service with angles being covered from kitchen window and likely from lobby as well, and going for the plant from there. Curious to see how much of a roam game TSM play here as well, in anticipation that we might see someone trying to take the top floor, or even worse, coming off towards the west-hand side.
This is why I love Siege so much and find it so enjoyable to watch, is for every problem there are a number of answers. Aim is of course important, but brain is just as much so. And we see here the counterplay between teams. Okay, you're bringing Monty, we're going to bring the Legion. So then you're bringing Legion, we'll bring Thatcher, although he's banned out. You know, there's just so many different options and solutions. You could bring a Twitch to clear those out. It really is counterplay, but ultimately it comes down to the guns sometimes, and Achieved just giving a little wiggle after he gets his kill onto Kendrew, but saves will reply with one of his own, and that brings us to 4 versus 4. And I sort of like to see that. There's obviously this bit of sort of friendly rivalry between these two teams, and they're just trying to get inside each other's heads. It's all important parts of the games, is the mentality of it.
That's important because Gio early on at the very start of the round, you saw Pi run to this door where Gio is right now. Not only look for cameras, but also place down a Claymore. Neither have been effective. The camera was still there and the Claymore was gone. Well played by Gio to deal with both of those and catch them off guard. Saves finds his second kill of the round. There is one more behind the bomb. Sprays through the wall and finds him with a triple. But Merc is going to jump out here. And now the Monty is in hot water. Gets sprayed down though as Citizen sweeps him from kitchen. And Na'Vi take 2 rounds on the bounce to take it through to match point. 6 and 5, Tim. TSM have got to book their ideas here, and I would not be too surprised to see them call a timeout.
Hoo-wee! I don't know if I can take much more of this. That was an unbelievable round. If you went back through and watched those kills come in and watched how many times the power dynamics shifted in that round, it was ridiculous. Na'Vi in charge, TSM in charge, the huge jump out from Merc that cleared out Saves, who at that point was on a 3k, was absolutely flying. It was just a fantastic round of Siege to watch, and we are being treated here to just as big, if not bigger, of a game than we ever expected.
And the timeout, I said, coming through for TSM. I think they're aware that now that Na'Vi have had their timeout and spoken about, look, playing into this Vigil, the Mute, and the Mozzie is hurting us. We've got to change how we're playing this. What are we going to do? What's going to surprise them? The answer has been this Monty. It has been phenomenal. So now their response on TSM side is to adapt to that. What are they going to change? How are they going to deal with it? And right now we're seeing them kind of flicking through a few operators. We'll see, of course, when it comes back on your screens exactly what they choose to lock in. But I think it's clear to say that playing the same setup is not going to work for them. It has not worked for the last 2 rounds. And again, we are now 1 round away from Na'Vi taking map number 1 in this oh so crucial best of 3.
Bagel has got his work cut out for him, the TSM coach. You can see him striding up and down behind his team there. This is his only opportunity to speak to the team. Generally speaking, the microphone you will see is placed up above his head and he can't communicate with his team. During those tactical timeouts, it just gives an opportunity for him to feedback anything that he's seen going on, anything that he's seen happening that he thinks could help. Now, that is not too much of a surprise. Goyo coming in is a good potential counter to Nello. We've seen Goyo being almost a sort of 50-50 pick. He's used an awful lot now. His pick rate is certainly going up in terms of Pro League, and it's no surprise because his gadget is extremely versatile. He has shields that they have a canister on the back. When shot out, it basically erupts into flame, covering an area in front of them for a period of time. So it is no surprise whatsoever to see one being dropped straight away in front of the service entrance, which is where they suffered to Saves in the Montagne push last time around. So basically what those gadgets do in terms of gameplay, they do a number of things. They slow down an attack because they have to get rid of them, the attackers, before they can push forward, because otherwise they'll be detonated and they will take a life very, very quickly. They shut a lane down. So if you choose that you need to rotate away from somewhere, or you're suffering specific pressure from that Doro lane, you erupt it and it gives you 10 seconds then to react, whereby the attackers cannot push through there. And last but not least, they even give potential area and plant denial if put in the right places.
The key thing going on down here inside the service entrance right now is there are 2 or 3 ADSs placed down. There is the Goyo shield in front. This is TSM saying you cannot destroy our Goyo shield here. Thank you very much, Marsu. Look at the setup they've gone for here. That is just saying Monty is not allowed in. You are not allowed to clear out this Goyo shield. But the response could be from the other side to take top floor control and spray it from behind, and suddenly there is no problem. They have the IQ, so they know what the problem is here as well. They now know what they're facing up against and need to deal with it. Very smartly as well, Pi is saying forget about about pool entrance. Let's get a Claymore down in front of that window because that caused us a couple of headaches last time round we assaulted this site.
Interestingly, it looks like Citizen is already pushing into the map potentially on the Ash and getting aggressive, looking to clear any top floor roamers. As you said, as it may well be that an alternative push is required from Navi here because that service entrance has been sewn up pretty tightly at the minute. There are alternatives for Kitchen.
Yeah, rotated look, yeah.
As you say, yeah, get top floor control, open up VIP, get the defenders moving, get a couple of players into Sunrise, and then just force them to move around and pick them off as they do, which is what it looks at the minute as though Navi might be trying. A ping comes in there, so the nade comes out to open the floor up, and the skeleton key will do so as well. So the area that he's trying to clear out there is behind the bar, and that will be successful as Gio is forced away. And again, it just shows a very clever play from Navi there to use an unusual angle to do the job they need. Citizen stepping in with a great kill onto Bolo. Achieved will get one for TSM. So that now leaves us 4 versus 4. And this last round potentially is just as high-paced as all the others that we have seen. We've got Merc now moving down the stairs. We've already seen this battle once before. Out goes the Nitro, but it will be unsuccessful. The Lion scan will reveal Merc's position. Citizen, Merc in that main lobby area. Citizen will get one onto Pojo Man, but Achieved will step in and help this time, getting the trade, and that leaves us now 3 versus 3, 1 minute to go.
Plants going down as well from Nello. All the intention coming out the other side was to slow this down, but Gio sprays through the smoke and finds the head of Nello. It's Kendrew left alive. Overtime is looking almost certain right now, and this stall comp was countered by Na'Vi, but TSM say, we don't care, we are ready, and that is it, ladies and gents. We're going into overtime. Oh my word, this is a map. This is a map.
Fancy 45 rounds, Des?
Not really. I mean, maybe.
It absolutely wouldn't surprise me to see it go that way. Right now, we know we will be guaranteed at least 14 rounds here. This turns into essentially a best of 3 rounds. So we are 6 apiece, and it will be the first to 8. So if somebody can come in and win themselves 2 rounds, they will go straight through with a map win on this one into map number 2. But they will now alternate between attack and defense on each round rather than playing them as a sort of consecutive bunch. We've got Navi coming in on the attack. I think that sort of benefits everybody because they're just continuing on what they've been doing already rather than having to swap operators for 1 round here.
The debate coming through from Na'Vi as well. Now that they have scared TSM away from playing that Mute Mozzie setup, well, looks like TSM are going to stick to what they had last time round. I've got to give some shout-outs to them actually as well, because in that last round, the comp they brought had everything to slow down a team with a Monty. The Glow Shields to waste time, the Smoke to waste time, the Ella Grismot Mines to waste time, the Mozzie to waste time with the droning. Everything just wanted to see Na'Vi ground to a halt, so they had nothing else to do except sit there and wait for these gadgets to be thrown out and deal with it. They did counter it quite nicely, but TSM were ready, and that was the crucial thing. That's why I love fixtures like this so much. It isn't just an all-out and out bloodbath of who can kill who first, who can do that first. It's counter upon counter upon counter being layered time and time again, and this is the kind of quality siege you would expect to see at the Invitational.
It really is. So we are in round number 13, 6 apiece, and we are going to overtime. So first one to win 2 rounds here will be successful and will put Coastline in the bag. The stakes involved here cannot be overestimated. 1 goes through to the playoffs, 1 goes home. We are talking about a $2.5 million and growing prize pool. That will very potentially head up towards that cap of 3 million, if not exceeding it, with the rest then going to other esports projects in the Siege world throughout the rest of the year. So it cannot be overstated. You know, this is a serious payday for these guys potentially if they can get through to that final stage. As you've commented a couple of times, there's G2 taking 40% of the prize pool as winners last time around. It can be life-changing.
This year it's 33%, but still
it's of a bigger amount.
I mean, I'll still take 33% of a couple of mil. Like, that's not a problem. I think anyone would be really hard-pressed to say, oh, that 7% is a life changer. I can't make do.
No, I mean, the monetary value will probably still be higher based on the fact that the beginning figure is higher. But yeah, it really is an opportunity for these teams, and that's, you know, that doesn't go out of these players' heads. You know, it's all, we've all been there. We've all played ranked. We've all had those tough games, but there's never anything really riding on it apart from, you know, the points in the rank system. This is real big pressure for these guys, and the fact that they can come through and keep playing at this pace, keep these skills and the ability level so high is genuinely impressive. We can see the attack is mounting here from Na'Vi. They're looking to put direct pressure onto site. They've got the diffuser down there just outside of the pool entrance. They're going to be going into Sunrise. The potential plant spot is just down at the bottom of your screen, just behind the B bomb there. Sometimes you would try to push into Office. There's basically two common pushes here. One would be top right of your screen, Office, you take control. We saw TSM do it very well in the first half on their attacking phase. Or alternatively, you try and just get some direct control over a very small area of Sunrise, really, and get yourself in behind that B bomb and plant in quite a bit of cover. But the important thing there will be to shift Pojo Man, particularly. Saves moves in unchallenged to Office and will get the kill onto Achieved with a nice headshot. So that gives Navi a small advantage, 5 versus 4 here.
Small advantages can be everything when the fixture is this close, and I can't believe it's been such a kill-light round when there's only 40 seconds left on the clock. I think both teams feeling the nerves of how close this is coming down to. Na'Vi setting up here for a blue push, the same as last time, but Merc is standing guard inside of the hallway. A second kill comes through for the other side. Citizen is flanking in for pool entrance here as well, but Pojo deals with Kendrew in style. Down goes Citizen to Bolo. This one is pretty much done and dusted. TSM in full control, and they will be 1 round away from taking map number 1. Still an opportunity for Saves to do something here in 15 seconds, but we've all seen these are 1 in a million rounds. It's very rare that they convert to going the way that you would want it to go. TSM will likely close this one out as Na'Vi take a second to collect their thoughts and address what they are now going to do, switching on to the defensive side of things.
That's it. It's not unusual to see that there, just a player holding himself out of the fight. It's 1 versus 4, 15 seconds to go, very unlikely to win. So the team just write the round off and just give themselves an opportunity of an unofficial timeout just to have a chat, get on the comms and see what they can do, how they can progress, how they can change things up, what is going wrong, what do they need to do differently here. Coming in, it is going to be good for Navi to switch onto the defense for them, because it's just going to break that momentum a little bit. It's going to break that chain a little bit, and they were very successful coming out of the defensive phase 4-2, so I'm sure they're going to be looking to do the same. They had a lot of success out on the roam game, Pi and Citizen particularly, Kendrew joining them as well with a little bit of supporting kills, and they need that sort of... What I'm worried about is TSM doing what they did to SSG and just coming in and rushing site here.
It could very well turn out to be that way. I mean, if it goes round into the next round and Na'Vi do manage to win this one out, I would expect to see a Monty being brought again. It's been so successful for them, they've made it work the majority of times. Like, why wouldn't you still take it? Fun random stat for you. That round, I believe, was the only round that we have seen Pi survive. In fact, no, a lie. I think in that last round he died as well. 0% survival rate. Across all rounds, even the ones they've won, he's still died. He's in the thick of it in this game, really going for those firefights.
He is in the thick of it, and ultimately, if you're getting your kills, it's not the end of the world. You can look at it, you know, at its core, we say this all the time, it is an FPS, and if all 5 of those opponents die, it doesn't really matter what else has gone on. So there's 1 kill for everybody out there. So if you get your kill, granted, you get 2, you get 3, then you're helping your teammates out. But if everybody gets 1, then you win the round. So that's the big question. As much as Pi isn't surviving, is he getting the kills to go with it? And I'm not sure at this point in time that he's maybe getting quite enough.
Thank you very much, Marcy. Seeing that camera put down, inside of Aqua there as well. Very common spot for it, because you often see attackers will try and push it from the southeast side of the map, whether that's through Office or Aqua, and stage an attack from there. That will at least give them indication if that's where things start from. So it's on Pojo Man, on the IQ, to hunt that camera down and get it destroyed. Now that there is the match on side, we've seen it generally avoided between both sides. The IQ and the Valkyrie together, kind of seems a bit of a war starting, but Kendrew's having a different kind of war now. He doesn't care about cameras, he cares about C4s and where they're headed. And in that case, it was headed straight for Bolo. So, opening kill over to Na'Vi. Still 2 minutes and 15 remaining in the round. Definitely too early to call anything, but the man advantage, as we've seen across the general duration of this match, has tended to go in favour of the team that has then gone on to win the round.
Defence is having the day here on Coastline. It has been a difficult one to come in and attack, but we've seen TSM do it from man disadvantage very well a couple of times. The one round particularly that stands out to me was Gio and Bolo, 2 versus 4, finishing things off in hooker and billiards. Absolutely fantastic round for them. So TSM are not going to be afraid, put it that way. I can see us going to a 15th round, but it also wouldn't surprise me for TSM to close this out here and now. We can see Merc getting in there on the Ash, doing some droning along with Pojo Man, just trying to feed him any information they can. By contrast, we can see now Navi have got the bulletproof cam out in the 90 corridor there. They're looking to keep this roam game alive for as long as possible. We've got 2 around luggage and theatre there. The pressure is about to mount. 3 are pushing forward from TSM. The next 30 seconds are going to be absolutely crucial. And what a nade from Achieve there off the door frame. Merc in position as Citizen is pushed away, gets the headshot, and that leaves TSM here in a 4 versus 3 now with that man advantage swinging in their favour. Lion Scan comes in and the pressure is mounting. Achieved with a kill onto Kendrew. That will be a double for him on the round. 4 versus 2 now. Nello and Saves need a miracle as 1 is taken out and Saves is 1 versus 4, 1 versus 3 as he manages to get a kill on a tight angle through the hatch, but it will be the last one for him as Merc comes in and TSM take away Navi's Coastline.
Wow, what a conclusion there as well. TSM destroying the roam game from Na'Vi. Admittedly, Citizen rotating back into theatre. Not sure why when you've just seen your teammate die inside there, but TSM excellent at dealing with this wild aggression coming out of Na'Vi at points, and they walk away the victor 8 and 6. But what a close game that was. 3 members from either side hitting double digits when it comes to the number of kills, and you saw the animation on TSM's faces, especially Bagels. They are one of the more composed teams, I like to say, here at the Six Invitational, but the excitement here, they know what this means. That means they are 1 map away from sending Na'Vi home and booking themselves a ticket into the playoffs on Tuesday and Wednesday.
TSM certainly haven't had it easy so far. They had a tough day yesterday against SSG, and Navi are not making this easy either, but TSM showing why they are one of the best teams in the world, and they are answering the problems that are thrown at them. They are coming up with the solutions. They have the answers to the questions, and they really have taken a fantastic result out of Navi there, especially with that early sort of tour de force start that we saw from Navi on the defence.
And I'll give it again that this turned into a really good game of Siege, because it didn't become about frags or, you know, was Merc getting 20 kills on a map or was Citizen doing the same. It turned into a game of counters back and forth. With the Monty play we saw for a few rounds, it really started to run rampant. TSM's response was to change things up and go for this very slow comp that really said, if you want to try and push forward, that's fine, but you got to deal with the Mozzie, you got to deal with the Goyo, the smoke, you name it, there were problems all the way through. It was just so interesting seeing the back and forth going through, and I've got zero doubt that going into Consulate, it is going to be a very similar story. And looking down some of these stats as well, like I said, on each team, 3 of them standing up there when it came down to having double-digit kills. Very interestingly, Achieved, not a single one of his kills came from a headshot. He's doing a Pengu.
But by contrast, Merc, I take it all back. I think at the time that I said that he was struggling with some of his shots, he just seemed to absolutely take off after that point and really started finding them. 67% headshot rating he finishes on with a 13 and 9, plus 4 on the KD and 3 to 2 on entry as well. So going positive in the entry battles as well. Those opening duels, all so important here to just put your team in the driving seat early in the round. What we have been treated to there, Des, is without a doubt another one of those classic maps of Siege. Real play and counterplay, the momentum swinging backwards and forwards. It really was tense stuff. It was difficult to say who was going to win. That was an unbelievable nade from Achieved there. Really was, taking it off the door frame. Seemed like quite a long time after it hit that door frame. I'm surprised Pi maybe wasn't able to get away from that. It seemed like he might be able to move further away.
Quite possibly, and you saw Citizen charge across the doorway where he'd just seen one of his team members die from a grenade, but hey, that things happen. Still,
it gets very busy.
It gets busy, it gets hectic, these things are going to happen. Let's talk a little bit about Consulate though. We know that's the next map we're going into. Historically, both teams have played pretty well on it. It was TSM's map pick to go here as well, so it shows they're feeling confident. You said at the start we may yet see both teams take each other's map choices. It feels like that might be a thing. It may yet play out that way.
We know how good that Navi can be on Consulate. There's no question about that. We've all the way from seeing them under the name of M&M and then being picked up by Navi. We've seen them play Consulate time and again, and we've said a number of times, you know, you just don't play them on Consulate. TSM quite happy, took SSG 7-3, beat them yesterday, so the confidence is up. They know they've already had a win on that map, so I'm sure that they're absolutely fine going in there, and they've got the strats in place and ready. Consulate, what I will say, is going to be a real battle here, because from what we've just seen on Coastline, the roam game very important and very utilised. That's going to be an even bigger factor on Consulate. Such a big map, plenty of space, as you've commented yesterday, Des, nice and thin, but plenty of rotations up and down. It's more of a vertical movement that you're looking for. You've got 3 staircases, one in the middle and one at either end, and it's very, very quick and easy to go up and down floors and to flank around the back of people, and it's also very difficult to shut that down completely.
Spawn peaks, jump outs, run outs. It's one of the maps that's very well regarded for it, and it does share some similarities to Coastline because of the number of windows on the map in which you can make those things happen. And we saw on their defensive half, Na'Vi did that quite a lot. There were a lot of jump outs and run outs coming through, especially early on in the rounds. And what happened on the other side? Well, when they were on the attack, they bought Nomad. They were very aware of that threat. I would actually expect to see a Nomad ban come through here, mainly because TSM have seen that Na'Vi like playing it. And if TSM want to cause a bit of chaos, what better chance to do it than here? As it is TSM's map pick, Na'Vi get to pick the side. I know a lot of teams have started favouring taking attack when it comes to playing on Consulate, so we'll see if they go for something similar here as we're about to get into the game in just a few moments. You can see the players all taking their seats once again. I'm almost begging it not to be a 2-0, because this game, and after that first map, it's already tellable. It needs to be a best of 3. It needs to go literally the best of 3 maps.
It certainly does, and what a match we would have if we saw it go to Villa. One way or another, I'm sure TSM are going to be keen to close it out here with the best intentions. I'm sure they're not too worried about how entertaining it is. They just want to get themselves through to the next round. But us here on the desk and you guys at home, I'm sure we want to see the absolute best that we can out of this fixture, and we're certain that we will see that if it goes all the way to Villa. The tension will be high.
The only people that win in a best of 3 are the fans. When it goes to the third map, we are the only winners. The players are on the edge of their seats. They are nervous. You got me saying it now. It took about 8 times, but it's finally in my head. Thank you very much for that, Ace.
You are welcome.
The coaches as well, no doubt, are going to be under a lot of pressure, because every decision, you saw the influence those tactical timeouts had in that last map. You can see why they are so important. Let's see then how this map starts out. TSM are starting off on the defense, Na'Vi on attack as expected. Let's see how Consulate plays out. It is TSM's map pick, and we are starting with the bans.
So we will have TSM coming in with the first ban here on the attackers. What would we normally expect? We'll potentially see a Nomad ban here on Consulate, depending how aggressive these teams maybe want to play on defence. That will come down to Navi, if anybody, because we see Capitao being taken out of things, which again is not unusual. Very, very powerful operator. He's got those asphyxiation bolts, which since the not too recent changes anymore, but since the changes, expand and cover a much bigger area and really do have a big impact on the round. Now, interestingly, we've got a book ban coming out from Na'Vi there. Not too common that we see that one, but very, very important here on Consulate. A lot of destructible floor. Not just destructible floor, but a lot of very useful destructible floor. We've recently seen a bit of a trend towards kills coming down from actually 2 levels above, because quite often there is destructible floor directly beneath each other. So you get into admin, you take the floor out, you take the next floor out down in Visa, and that gives you a view all the way into archives, and that sort of vertical angle is very difficult to challenge on the reverse.
Similarly, it's a very similar thing for the defenders. If they can hold meeting upstairs, they can have the double angle shot straight down through in towards the garage door, where very commonly when you're defending downstairs will be the angle of ingress for the attackers. We are starting things off on the downstairs, inside cafeteria and garage. I'm very curious to see if we see any different picks coming through here, but the one I think we all expect to see, and quite rightly so, is being picked by Saves here, is going to be that Nomad. They want to make sure that there are no potential jump outs. Now, some might say, well, why don't you just use Claymores? Like, why dedicate a whole operator to this? The reason being that Nomad by herself has 3 air jabs. She can basically air jab off 3 windows or doorways, and she has her gun. So what you'll commonly see is a Thermite, for example, with a Nomad, as long as the Thermite isn't needed, they will hold a window each, and they'll have 3 air jabs covering off the other ones, and maybe a Claymore. It just makes it very, very safe for the attackers to approach the building, and also while assaulting from windows, for example, that they won't get jumped out on by the defenders. That is why you will see Nomad being brought so much on this map.
So we'll be heading down to Garage Cafeteria for our first defense from TSM here. We've got two major pushes onto this site. First off, you will see, and most commonly, a push going through the big garage door, the triple wall that you just saw being reinforced on the left of your screen. Thank you, Marciu. That will be a very, very important area of this game. The default plant spot being just inside of there in front of that white van, which has offered extremely good coverage from the right-hand side of the site that you can see there. The alternative push is to go from that rear side and move into cafeteria. Much rarer that we tend to see that. Generally speaking, the primary push is the garage door. Now, when pushing that garage door, a particularly important area, some utility being placed all the way up on the top floor. I'll explain why that will be in a moment. So particularly important can be the room with a big piano in it that sits directly above the garage, because if you can get in there and open that up, it means that you can use it to remove any utility that's been placed on the garage door, such as bandits, keyed electricals, anything like that. We don't have any denial on the board at this moment in time, so piano will be slightly less important. But if you can get in there and maybe get a couple of the ash breaching charges on the floor and just open things up a little bit, you can get some great vertical lines of sight. So what TSM are doing here is they're trying to hold themselves upstairs, because it means that first and foremost, Navi have to waste a lot of time. They've got to go all the way up top, clear out the top floor, clear out the mid floor before they can start thinking about pushing directly onto site. Because whilst this garage door has been opened by Kendrew, not too much of a problem, you can't necessarily just push in and get the diffuser down whilst you know there's people on top floor, because they can drop the hatch that is in the console office down into the piano, open up that floor. It may already have been done with a shotgun, or a chief will have one in hand, and then you can challenge the plant spot. So this top floor must be cleared.
We're seeing fewer and fewer teams actually committing to defending the garage wall as well. We used to see quite a lot of Kai brought, sometimes you get Bandit being brought as well. Mute is a very common pick on this map too, especially when paired with the Mozzie. But a lot of teams now just say, you know what, if they want it open, realistically they are going to get it open. Let's let them have it and instead focus our defense a little bit further back, and that's exactly what they're trying to focus on doing now, as well as placing members upstairs. In fact, I believe there are only two playing on the downstairs right now. Everyone else is causing chaos on the upstairs. And there comes a fight between Citizen and Achieved on the top floor, of which Robo Citizen will come out on top, finding that kill and removing yet another roamer from TSM side.
What a headshot from Citizen that was. I cannot overstate the difficulty of that sort of shot over that sort of distance. Fantastic from him. Nello getting a great kill as well and leaving Navi at a great advantage 4 versus 2. Now, the other interesting thing is I was talking about the potential for vertical denial of this plant. Achieved would have been the big one to do that, getting himself down with that super shorty to open up. We don't have any shotguns left on the side of TSM now, so Navi have a much better opportunity here to move in and plant safely in front of that white van. There is no smokes available, no Maestro cams on the board. So we are talking now about Jaeger and Pojo Man. The only way they can impact on a potential plant is with their weaponry. So at that point, Navi can just hold angles and just make sure that things are secure. We can see there Bolo just straying into the line of sight of saves while chasing another kill, and will lose his life. Citizen comes in with a kill onto Pojo Man, and just like Coastline, that's the first round going in favour of Navi.
That was a very tame round, very chess-like, I think it's fair to say. It was constantly, I'll move my piece here, your piece will move there. We'll respond by having two watching you. You might take one of ours, but we'll take one of yours in response. Bolo had the right idea there as well in pushing up from the bottom of Spiral. His intent was that when the push came through from Na'Vi to go for a plant behind the white van, he would push down yellow stairs and find a kill down there, while Pojo moved out towards the left inside a cafeteria and found the angle behind white van, leaving no safe space for Na'Vi to go for a plant. The problem was he missed those crucial shots on yellow stairs. There was someone playing inside a piano, found a kill, as well as he tried to push forward after missing those first shots. And in a 1 versus 4, even with Pojo playing as well as he did back on map number 1, it's still going to be a very tall order for you to be able to convert that into a win. We're now going into playing in lobby and press room. Now, this is one of those sites that, along with Tellers and Archives, has become a bit more popular as of late. Of course, the two more standard ones are still seeing a lot of play in terms of downstairs and on the top floor. But this one is an interesting one because normally it is very well defended from the top floor. Shotguns really come into play. You will hold above, open up shotgun holes that aiming towards the main door, aiming towards crucial windows. And essentially the idea is that you stop Na'Vi from being able to enter the site whilst not even playing on the site yourself. A very key area to defend is where you're seeing Merc right now inside a bathroom as well. You'll normally stick someone in there like a Butte, for example, and make it impossible for the attackers to push safely around that room. Because it is central to the rest of the floor, except for far off to the southeast in Visa. It is such a crucial location to hold down, which is why you see a lot of reinforcements and quite a bit of utility being stacked inside there.
Saves pushing forward there, and he's actually got the pistol out. It's quite common to see this because of how good that scope is there, particularly if you're looking to take out anybody on a spawn peak. He won't have any joy, but we can see Bolo here is keen to get some shots. He is looking to get aggressive and just increase the pace of this game. TSM just trying to keep things going as quick as they can, and that is one way of forcing teams sometimes into making those silly errors that will cost them rounds. They can see all the windows opened up there. They obviously want Navi to be scared even approaching this building here. We can see those flashbangs going in. They're just being used to burn that ADS utility so that exactly that could happen. In goes the air jab, and now whoever is in bathroom, if there is anybody, is going to be locked in there, and anybody who tries to move through that corridor will also be downed by that air jab if they do so.
Citizen already finding one on yellow stairs, and the diffuser's down already. What the hell? Didn't even see that happening. Kendrick got in through the window, planted, and got straight out. In with Merc right next to it. That whole setup for air jabs felt like it took about 45 seconds, but not 5 seconds later, the diffuser was down. And yes, we missed that one, but I'm sure TSM did as well. And there we go. Immediately the first air jab goes off, and it's panic stations down for TSM. Na'Vi are crawling all over the windows here, trying to stop them, finding angles. Bolo down on the ground behind the table in here is to try and make magic happen, but it's Pi who's got his number. Citizen still on yellow stairs, and TSM have been wiped out and destroyed. They'll get one kill, but it's a consolation at this point. Kendry finishes things off, and what an attack from Na'Vi.
That was the true definition of a ninja defuse. He got in there absolutely silently. I was far too busy focusing on what Saves was doing with the Nomad air jab, clearing out the ADSs. But meanwhile, whilst all that was going on, all that noise, all that distraction from Saves, Kendrew had just snuck his way in through the window. Very unusual plant spot there, and TSM have been absolutely caught out there. They were completely unaware of what was going on. They were completely aware of what was happening in their own backyard.
There were so many things being set up to make that successful as well. We had the Nomad on screen when we saw the flash grenades being chucked in to burn the ADS, and then an air jab going down outside a bathroom. That was in case there was someone playing inside there who wanted to run out and contest whilst Kendra was going for the plant. But because of that air jab, and because TSM knew that area inside Antechamber, as it's called, was being held, what they actually did was had to play further away. They didn't hear the rappel come in, they didn't hear the plant going down. They're almost close enough because Na'Vi had set things up so ridiculously well and got their angles set up. Really well executed round from Na'Vi. Also, in dealing with the roamers who were playing on the upstairs, trying to find kills from window, you saw how careful and meticulous their approach was towards the building. And for TSM, like you say, honestly, they got caught out there. There really wasn't much they could do, I don't feel. They weren't aware that that was the intent from Na'Vi. If they were, they maybe would have played a bit riskier and kept someone inside a piano.
It's one of those plays, you get away with it the first time. We're back on the same site, and I can guarantee you will not see the same thing coming out of Na'Vi here, because you don't get away with it twice, and TSM are going to be very switched on to the potential for a quick plant here.
It's hard as well, because I was saying at the start of last round, on the same site once more, lobby and press, sometimes we call press room piano due to the massive piano that, of course, you can see inside that room, that a lot of the focus would be on the upstairs. There was focus on the upstairs, but they were too busy staring at windows rather than at the holes in the ground to see when someone tried to push it through a window. So I'd like to see TSM being a little bit more meticulous this time and being aware of this. They have got the setup this time round because Achieved is on the pulse. They've also got the mirror, so it's a lot safer for them to actually watch in towards what's going on. You can see one down here inside of inside a garage, sorry. The other one I would expect is inside a bathroom, watching in towards piano so they keep it nice and safe. There it is on that wall there. Thank you very much, Marcio. So they can indeed see safely now where this is coming from. My only fear is that if Citizen once again gets the freedom to charge up yellow stairs, he can easily find himself a couple of kills and bring down that oh-so-crucial pulse.
And that is largely going to come down to the gunfight with Achieved when that occurs. We knew from the setup that Na'Vi were going to be using the windows at least, because we saw both of those air jabs deployed early onto the window and the main door. Merc getting a good kill onto Saves. We saw Merc playing in this location last time around, having a little bit more success this time out of the drone there. We'll just catch Gio and the information fed back in, and what a beautiful view we got of that teamwork between the droner and Pi there with a great kill coming to Gio, but Bolo will will be ready for Citizen, who tries the danger rappel down from Skylight. Merc with a kill onto Nello, and this one is going much more in TSM's favour. This is exactly as we saw on Coastline. Navi come in with a great first 2 rounds and win them, and then TSM fight back and show that they have certainly got the teeth required for the fight. We are now in a 3 versus 2. Bolo achieved and Merc holding on to sight here, and another kill. That's 2 for Bolo on the round onto Pi, and he will make it a 3 as he finishes one off onto Kendrew. The top floor never really dealt with by Navi there, and that just shows why the top floor is so important to the defense of press and lobby.
Absolutely, and normally from Na'Vi, the approach would be to assault that top floor and unseat the defenders from above, take control of the holes they've opened up in the floor and use that to protect you as you go for a plant. It's very common to see plants coming into lobby. Normally you're walking through the front door and just plant off towards the left, tucked away, back out, and it is very easy to protect things from the longer angles. But TSM played very aggressively there. They were holding up to all the windows they could. They had 2 playing on yellow stairs to make sure Citizen couldn't play the aggressive game that he did. Admittedly, I'm not too sold on the whole let's rappel down through spiral staircase and pray that no one is watching from Visa, from yellow stairs, from lobby. You knew that TSM were playing quite aggressively there. You knew someone was aware that someone had died at the bottom of Spiral Staircase. So the response was, make sure no one's rappelling down or watch out for the drones coming from that direction. It was a free and easy kill. Maybe a little bit overzealous there by Na'Vi, who got themselves picked off, but it's showing adaptation from TSM, which is the crucial thing. They identified the blind spot in the last round, very clearly identified it, where the diffuser was, made sure it was covered, and that round went much better and much more as they would expect.
I just feel like there's safer ways that you could have got into that area if you wanted to, other than the vertical rappel all the way from Skylight. It just puts you at danger for so long. You're going across 2 floors, essentially, whereby you can't really mount much of a challenge at all, if any. I think realistically, by coming in through maybe Visa window, once Geo has been cleared out, you know that that area is likely going to be cleared. They're not going to have more than 1 person in Teller and Visas. And you're still in the same spot 3 seconds later, except you can challenge it as you get there. It just seems like a bit of a strange decision, that one.
Tucked away in the corner now, you see that camera going outside. Citizen, quite uncharacteristically, is on the IQ here as well, so should be able to deal with that relatively soon, although right now that is not their angle of attack. As you can see, it's more towards the east and the west right now, with a couple pushing towards yellow stairs towards the northwest. Got to be wary as Bolo is hanging around here as well, and I think he's just heard, of course, with those panels being fired out, that there is someone lurking around those windows, and he would be correct, as it is indeed Citizen nearby. Still Kendrick nearly losing his life just there. 75 HP disappearing in the blink of an eye, but no death coming through immediately. They know there's a bit of an upstairs war to take place here before they can worry about even looking towards the sites downstairs. Look at this. TSM have got 3 or 4 players holding on the upstairs right now, and Na'Vi are really hard pressed to try and make anything happen. They're getting caught out. Even with the air jabs down, they're still losing members. That one will get traded by Nello, and a final one should come through, but no, Nello gets the shot first on towards Achieved, and at least now Na'Vi have some more semblance of control here on Consulate.
1 minute 50 left on the round, and plenty of time for Navi to do what they need to do here. 3 versus 3, but as you say, the control that they need at least in place. We can see ahead of us there 3 defenders are left, but they are now pushed back towards site. So with the diffuser in hand, Navi can now start thinking about exactly how they want to approach this. Merc, however, has not been dealt with out on the roam and will get a kill on to Kendrew, so that's a good advantage at a crucial time of the round coming in for TSM there. So now 3 versus 2 in their favour. Citizen and Nello have it all to do. 1 man is not necessarily the entire difference here, but I'm a little bit surprised at the alternative push here. Last time around, Navi had a great attack. They did very well down here. They were pretty much, you know, in and out, no major problems. So to see it be reasonably different is a little bit of a surprise, but that's just reacting to exactly what TSM are doing differently, and that shows that they are adapting well now. Heading downstairs, we're looking just to see if Nello can get an angle through the door. He's going to lose his head if he's not careful, though, as that angle is being watched by Merc, the default camera being taken out. So now they will be starved of information. Out goes the EMP just to prevent any gadgets that might be in place. Valkyrie cameras, etc. feeding back in. Merc just challenging that doorway again, and with 25 seconds left to go, this round is still anybody's.
Na'Vi've really got to try and make a push here though as well. They're not looking to trade with each other as they're all pushing from different angles, and there we go. Citizen will find one onto Geo, but there's still work to do here. Still 2 remaining. He has got a ping coming through, so he knows where 1 is. Doesn't know where the second is though, and will find his head taken off as Merc takes that final kill. Round number 4 goes to TSM. We're sat at 2-2.
TSM have come back strong once again. It's exactly the same as we saw on Coastline. If it follows the same pattern, we would see Navi take the next 2 rounds and finish the half 4-2. But they were on defence that time, whereas this time around we are on attack. We do see Consulate tend to be favouring the attackers recently. Those defences have become very, very difficult, and I think in large part that comes down to the external access to sites a lot of the time. You can use a lot of windows. There are a lot of angles in and out of every single site, and covering them all can be a real challenge.
Well, let's see if they can make it work. Going now into the second floor. Console and meeting in round number 5, and we're seeing a vigil change to the vigil. That's what we call a debate, as there was no net change. No mute being brought, so not going to see the media blackout that we normally see brought to this floor, to be fair. But at least we'll see probably yellow stairs, I would expect to be blocked out here as well, where you'll see Bolo sit. It's very common on this site, especially, that you will see an attack coming in from yellow stairs or from admin. As we mentioned earlier on, as you referred to what we mentioned yesterday, this is a very thin map. You either have 2 choices. You can attack from the west or you can attack from the east. Take your pick your poison, some might say. In this case here, Bolo will be locking that one down at top. I would expect to see a Chief put down a couple of ADSs on that side to make sure he's safe at the top of yellow stairs. And Navi's response will either be to pelt the living hell out of yellow stairs with utility, or instead look towards the east, push towards admin, and then assault on towards the site. Now, there is no Habana ban, but there is also no Habana pick. The fact they haven't got that means they're probably not too interested in trying to open up the meeting wall from copy, which is very common for a lot of teams to do as well.
So we're into the action phase proper here, round number 5, 2 apiece, and this one is proving to be just as tight as Coastline. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to see it head into overtime once again. Do not go anywhere, because you are going to see some of the best siege at the Six Invitational. I have absolutely no doubt. 2 teams that deserve to be on that main stage given their previous history, or at least recent history. However, one of them will go home at the end of this fixture. The loser will be out of the tournament. The winner will go through to the playoffs on Tuesday and Wednesday, so we can see some attention being paid to those doors and windows there. Navi really not wanting to suffer to the runouts. They want to get on those windows. As you said, Des, there's 2 main approaches to this site. You can head through the admin side, or you head through the yellow stairs side and use the windows to support that as well. As it stands, it looks like the attention is going to be focused on the yellow stairs side. They need to get themselves a couple of picks here, particularly the operator that we can just see through that wall there, who is playing at the top of yellow stairs. Merc getting himself a kill onto Pi there with a headshot. Not sure where that came from, but it did take him off the rappel. I think it was that lower sort of window just beneath him there. Yes, it was indeed. So a great angle from Merc there to fire things up for TSM. Navi right now need to clear Achieved quickly, because otherwise this round is going to run away from them if they don't. If you want to make a yellow stairs push, you have to clear yellow stairs.
This is the problem, and they haven't even looked to be doing that yet. They did try with the EMP grenade that we saw go down, but they don't have control of that yet. Still, somehow, Kendrew has got inside of sight and attempted to go for a plant. However, Achieved, as we said, if you don't clear yellow stairs, you are in trouble. They didn't have it cleared. And that has now been dealt with quite aptly by the TSM side. And now Navi are in a bit of no man's land, where they've got to find these kills like these ones, but they've got to start finding them quicker. We're down to the final 60 seconds or so. And there are still 4 members from TSM crawling around the map, one of them being a Pulse of the Merc. Now, Merc on Pulse is going to give them so much information here if they don't play this carefully. A bit of a 2 versus 1 coming in against Bolo here as well. I don't think Citizen's fully aware of exactly where he is, but he's got the right idea. He is lurking around near bedroom, and here we go. He wasn't expecting to find Merc crawling around this north hallway either. Nello will get another trade up from on Skylight here, and Saves finds one with a beautiful spray down onto Bolo. 2 versus 2, and still a lot more to come in these final 25 seconds.
Navi cannot expect to keep winning rounds based on gunfights. They need to be more careful about the strategic game that they play, and there's nothing wrong with doing the unexpected, but now that's the second time they've just tried to rush into sight and get the diffuser down. The first time it worked, the second it didn't, and that is what we will often see. So with the diffuser on the ground, it's all coming down to go away. But Nello and Saves will win it out with a fantastic pair of kills there, and TSM, they're going to be kicking themselves on the back of that one. They had diffuser down deep in sight on the ground, and the only option for Navi was to play for kills there, and they've basically outgunned them, and they've come through with the win, and that's a little bit of a surprise there.
kind of unfortunate as well. I mean, it came down to the 1 versus 1 taking place inside a console office, to be completely honest with you. If that 1v1 was won, there was no way Saves manages to get inside Connect, to get the diffuser and plant. It was always going to come down to kills. But Saves managing to find that second kill as well, looking in towards meeting, I think was what really netted it out for them. Just two very fortunate gunfights that went their way, and Na'Vi take the round, now sat at 3-2 on the attacking side of Consulate. Now into round number 6. It's for TSM to figure this one out. We've had a 1-on-1 so far on Lobby and Press, or Lobby and Piano, as many of us like to call it. I don't expect Na'Vi will have the same surprise factor that we saw from them before, but one thing is for sure, we're going to see yet another war over these windows on the south side of the map.
I'm certain that we will. So heading round number 6 now, and Na'Vi with a slim advantage. They will be looking to bring this 4-2 into the next half, I'm sure. The defense is never easy on Consulate, and that's what we're seeing from TSM here, but they're doing a very good job of it. If they can come away from this 3-all, I am sure that TSM are going to have a good level of confidence here. Now, interestingly, we've seen this done a couple of times recently, where we actually have utility played downstairs as well as upstairs for a main lobby hold. Now, that gives options for the Mirror of Merc to drop away if needs be. If the push comes in through Garage, looking to clear the ceiling above them and get a couple of vertical kills and move things around, then it gives them the option to do that and to support the Pulse that will be playing down there as well. As it stands, I think we will see a pretty standard take from Na'Vi here, which is get into admin, push all the way across top floor, but what they need to be careful of is by that Pulse being played downstairs, they have to pay some attention down there, because the heartbeat scanner is still possible to get those nitro kills. You can use the open hatches to throw them up through it. Not much of the floor is destructible, but you can at least get the nitro tossers up into the main lobby from the...
Oh, come on, boys. Pi, that's one that should have been droned out a long time ago. Pojo sat in the corner of meeting, gets a free kill, and Bolo found one himself not too long before. So Na'Vi should now be aware that there are at least 2 members of TSM on this top floor that they need to be dealing with. That's not forgetting as well, like you say, that there is a Pulse downstairs. You've got to deal with both floors here inside of 2 minutes and still win the round. It's a tall order when there's only 3 of you left on the map.
It's a great defense from TSM is this, and you're going to see it play out in a very difficult fashion for Na'Vi now. Being down to 3 men versus 5, with 5 men spread across 3 floors and only 1 minute 40 left on the clock, this is going to be extremely difficult. If you go for a plant in the piano area, that is destructible between Garage and piano, so Pulse can directly impact it. If you get control over the main lobby, the round desk area, and go for a plant there, there is the hatch which is likely open in the middle of the round desk, which will allow at least an attempt of a nitro toss to deny any plant. We can see Kendrew moving in here, and this has been sort of a real indicative thing of Na'Vi so far. They have been going in and getting these stealth diffusers down.
No way!
We'll do it again, and that is a big mistake from TSM allowing that to happen. They need to be more aware of what's going on inside. Gio gets the kill onto the planter, Kendrew, but Saves will get one
the run out!
Achieved on a run out, gets one onto Citizen. Saves with one back, but Pojo, man, will finish that off, and that was essential that TSM won that round. They could not allow Na'Vi to get away with another round where they just snuck in through the main door and got a plant down like that.
A bit of a scare, I think, there for TSM, but also looks very composed under pressure. That jump out from Achieve, perfectly timed as well to catch Citizen, who was lurking around the corner. And they had the air jabs. You heard one go off at the very end. Just clearly not on the right windows. And sometimes you will see teams go for the Hail Mary. They'll jump out a window knowing that there is an air jab waiting for them on the ground just so they can get a kill whilst they're in free fall. And, well, that was more than enough for them to be able to clutch that round out. So, good play from TSM in that first half. Very good on the top floor there with disrupting the play coming out of Na'Vi. Poor drone work from Na'Vi, admittedly. They didn't find Bolo. They didn't find Pojaman inside of meeting. They have basically lost 2 members there completely for free, but well capitalized by TSM.
Yeah, that's it. Na'Vi saw the opportunity and they took it. Don't get me wrong, you know, you have to try those things sometimes without a doubt. And they were keen to get in there and get that diffuser down, but ultimately it just wasn't enough for them. They didn't have the control in place. It was too much of a rush. And really, TSM, they need to switch on a little bit more there. They can't allow that plant to go down, but they certainly reacted well once it did. And I think that was probably the reason that they didn't switch on to the plant going down, was in part a little bit of a consequence of how far out they had spread their defense. It's easy for us to say it's going to be difficult for them to clear them here. They're across 3 floors, but there is always a consequence. You know, every action has a reaction. And what happens when you spread your defense across 3 floors like that is you become a little bit thin on the ground, and it can be difficult to keep an eye on everywhere that you need to, and we saw that that was the case there for TSM. So something that they need to be aware of. Sometimes if you spread too thin, the attackers can think, well, that's fine, there's nobody on site, and they can't be watching all of the middle floor from downstairs, so let's just get in there and get a plant down. But TSM, taking nothing away from them, reacted very well. As you say, just turned up the aggression there in the last 10 seconds, absolutely cleared Navi out because they'd planted without being really prepared for the post-plant, I don't think. They just took the opportunity, and TSM cleaned them out.
In that last 4 rounds of that half, all of them opening kills over to TSM as well, so really starting to ramp things up after those first couple of disastrous rounds, shall we say. It didn't really go as planned, one being the rush, the other being Na'Vi just showing a bit of prowess when it comes to Consulate. But now they've got to show the same on defense. This wasn't their map pick, let's not forget. TSM chose to come here. At the half it is 3-3, still neck and neck the same way that it was on Coastline.
So we're going to see the split side, first of all. Something that we've seen from Navi previously is sort of a favour for this site. It's one that maybe teams aren't as commonly familiar with attacking. We've basically got one on the mid-floor, one bomb site on the mid-floor in Tellers, and then one all the way on the bottom floor in Archives, directly beneath it. Generally speaking, this one will be largely defended from Archives, with vertical presence and holes being opened up into Tellers. Geo will get the opening kill onto Citizen, so that will be one of the roamers off the board with Jaeger gone. And then there is another one in admin we can see just being challenged there, very probably Kendrew, I would have said, on the Mozzie, possibly.
Beautiful
Chief
grenade.
will get a kill onto Saves, taking the Valkyrie off the board, so that now leaves us 5 versus 3, and this is a very good start to this first round from TSM. What they're looking to do is get that top floor control so that they can start thinking about pushing into Tellers, and there is the option to get that diffuser down then.
Even with Mute and Mozzie, they're doing wonderful work here. Bolo pushing around, just spraying as well, but Kendrew running away with his tail between his legs. Oh, he won't catch him on the corner. That's a super shorty to the face, and down goes Bolo, but Pojo Man immediately trading things back. We are now into a 4 versus 2, and the assault begins from TSM as we hit the 60-second mark on this round's timer. Down to a 4 versus 1, and I can't believe the drone work coming out of TSM in this round when there is a Mute and a Mozzie on the board. They found those first 2 kills for free. Wow, that's TSM living inside of Navi's head rent-free in that round. They just knew everything that Navi were doing and found no surprises.
What an attack from TSM there. They came out, they won every single gunfight nearly. Kendrew just having a little bit of ring around the roses there, managed to get himself hidden behind the door frame and got 1 for his trouble. But it didn't matter because Pojo Man was there ready to support his teammate and get that trade, and that is something that TSM are doing better and better and better the longer we go, is they are supporting each other, they're trading kills out, they're working in pairs, and they are certainly communicating well as a team. And TSM right now are looking like a very, very dangerous beast, not just in terms of this fixture, but potentially in terms of the rest of the tournament.
And it was like they said, we mentioned it earlier on, the Bagel said it on Twitter, yesterday wasn't their best day. They're not quite sure why, they played a little bit scared, things didn't look so hot for them against SSG. Who knows, maybe it was Canadian shouts and Geos that really kind of set them off a little bit, who knows. It wasn't their day, day 1 was definitely their day, day 3 is looking to be their day as well. And yes, it's still very, very close. Yes, Coastline was ridiculously close, it's still only 1 round between them now, 3 rounds total across the whole series. But you're just sensing when they have the idea, when they have the confidence going forwards, they look almost unstoppable. That last round really showed you the prowess of this team and why so many are expecting them to do great things here at the Six Invitational 2020.
Round number 8 then, we find ourselves 4-3 in favour of TSM after an extremely good attack from them. The danger here is that TSM are going to be able to do largely the same thing as they did previously if they choose to do so. We're going to a top floor bomb site, and we saw Navi attack this by pushing from the balcony and from the yellow stairs side, the left hand side as we look at it now, using the windows and getting into site quickly to potentially get a plant down. It wasn't successful, but they did win out on kills. Now TSM have just had a very good admin push. They got in there, took control of it very quickly, got themselves a couple of kills, and then worked through the rest of the map from there. If they choose to sort of rinse and repeat and do the same, I can see them having success with it again, but it looks at this stage like they are paying attention towards that yellow stairs side. It doesn't look like Navi have got anybody stationed on the yellow stairs at the minute, and I'm sure Achieved will be aware of that very quickly if he starts getting his drone up there. Saves will open things up with a kill onto Merc though. That's the Goyo just putting in some work from the windows there, and that's something you've always got to be aware of on this site.
Absolutely. We saw how much of a war there was last time round with the Nomad setups. Geo in both rounds so far has played on that, to absolutely nobody's surprise. Again, we saw how the things turned out last time around. Now, at the start of this round, we did see Pi initially hovering over the mirror, which has now changed over to being a clash. So his job is going to need to be that walking mirror window. It's a little more fragile, as we said before, but that kill coming through there onto Saves will even things out at 4 and 4. You haven't really see a big impact come through from the clash, but I would expect at some point it will have to, because now Pojo is going for the plants. Down to 2 seconds on the clock. Is this a bit stealthy? How does Pi not see him? Just about manages to find him, but the diffuser is down. The issue now is they've got to go for some jump outs here to make this work for them, and there will be air jabs no doubt lurking around as well. The best thing they've got here is the clash for additional protection.
They could well choose to get straight on the counter diffuse here. Citizen getting the kill onto Geo. Pi will do so. Shield on his back. He will be protected. There is a man down in Piano. Can he have an impact? No, he can't. Navi will win the round. How about that? Kendrew gets a kill onto Achieve to protect the disable as it goes through. Unbelievable plays. We have a rush into sight. We have an unexpected stealth diffuse plant again. And then Navi just play the advantage there. They get the planter. That was the key there. Although Pi didn't stop him finishing the plant, he did kill him before he could get out of the window. And that meant that TSM had nobody in place to really make a direct, immediate impact onto a disable attempt. And Navi recognised that and very quickly got on there and made that decision to do that. There was a man trying to impact. I think it was the IQ of Bolo downstairs in Piano. He was trying to have that impact to get underneath. The floor is soft and he wanted to put shots in, but he was challenged very well. Navi recognised that that was the weak point, and that was a very good defence from them. And what a match we have on our hands here.
You wouldn't have seen it on the replays what we did on our end. There were literally pistol shots raining past his ears there as he was going for that defuse.
Just hold F.
Just hold fair. Just stick it, mate. You said this so many times yourself, actually.
Not easy.
Player as well. Just stick it. Forehead. That's the way to play it.
Not easy.
Even with the pistol shots raining past his head, though, literally a couple of pixels to the left, and that would have been a kill coming through. You might know as the IQ where the diffuser is. You don't strictly know the orientation of the person who's diffusing it, and that's what caught them off guards there. Well played by Navi. Well played by TSM as well to get away with that very sneaky plant. But unfortunately, that round goes across to Navi.
Joking aside, you mentioned coming into this, Des, that there'd maybe been a bit of an issue with the feeling of trust within the team for Navi, and that is exactly the point there. Just holding F is not the easiest thing to do in the world. If you've got bullets raining around you, you need a lot of trust in your teammates that they are going to be covering you, that they're going to pick up those kills that are going to stop you losing your life and allow you to do what you need to do for the team to win the round. So sticking on there like that for that 7-second diffuse is not always an easy thing to do. Your instincts are to come off and to return fire to protect yourself, and he didn't do that there, and it showed a good level of trust between these Navi players. Very, very well played.
A late camera coming out there, immediately identified by Bolo, who definitely deals with it thanks to the IQ pistol. We also saw a C4 come out from Nello trying to catch them as they ran around on above the garage area, but no one was quite caught out from there. So quite a bit of a west stack coming out from TSM so far. And here, as you can see, towards the south, making sure these are covered off with claymores, air jabs, you name it, any matter of material with violent tendencies that they have on side is being engineered towards the members of Navi, who, as we've seen already, like their jump outs and their run outs, they will go for these kind of plays given the opportunity.
So we are 1 minute into the round. We can see early pressure mounting onto the Valkyrie of Nello here.
Three upstairs.
Just got TSM just looking to just hold themselves around there. They know they need to clear that top floor out. Pi and Nello are still up there. Kendrew is flexing between the two on yellow stairs there. TSM just trying to gather as much information as they can. We've also got one out. I think it's just Pi rotating up and down the Visa stairs. It's not an additional operator. We've got Saves and Citizen downstairs in the site and around it, but TSM at the minute, they're a little bit spread out. They are in ones at the minute, and that could be quite dangerous because it allows them to get picked off. What we've seen them do successfully so far is move in 2s and 3s, mob-handed, and sweep through. Merc will get an opening kill onto Citizen in the site though, so that's an important one. Vigil off the board, but also one of the big fraggers for Navi. What is going to be important is Pi upstairs at the minute, preventing them coming in through main lobby, but Merc getting aggressive now. He really has his head up and he gets his kill onto saves. Kendrew will trade one out onto Geo, but that will be traded straight back from Achieved, and that's exactly what I commented on. TSM have done very, very well, is trading those kills out and working as pairs. We can see there Navi being summarily dispatched. 2 kills coming in, Pojo Man I think it was, and Bolo, and that will finish the round for TSM and puts them back in the lead, and they are now within only a couple of rounds of getting themselves through in 2 maps to Tuesday and Wednesday's playoffs.
Starting to feel it reach that fever pitch now as well. That round a little bit chaotic from Na'Vi at points, very much so spread out. Citizen was alone inside of lobby and lost that opening trade with Bolo. There was Kendra upstairs playing inside of the bathroom as well. He got himself tagged out. We did see him steal a couple of drones in that round as well. We saw him with one on yellow stairs, but unfortunately he lost that one pretty early on too. A couple of C4 tosses did come out of Na'Vi, but found absolutely no one. So all it came down to was TSM winning those gunfights, which we saw them do with skill and style. Secured the round. Now this is becoming a very popular side apparently for these both sides. We're returning once again to lobby and press. That suggests really that Na'Vi know what went wrong in that round and they feel that they can deal with it. And one thing worth mentioning, Saves in that round was playing shotgun inside a bathroom. This central room in the middle of everything is so crucial to hold down as a defender, but even with a shotgun on side, he's still lost the gunfight. You cannot afford to be losing them when you're holding down such a pivotal location.
He didn't know it was coming. That was the bottom line of that. He had no idea that Merc was pushing into him at that point. He wasn't in ADS, he was just moving to the other side of the bathroom, and Merc had one of the freest kills of his life. But that just goes to show why aggression is so important in Siege. Quite often, the aggressor will win fights because they're going in, they're expecting it, their reflexes, their reactions are ready for that fight, they're ready to click mouse one, and that's exactly what Merc did, and got himself a great double kill there that really fired TSM into that round. So Merc really leading from the front there. As I say, I commented early on Coastline that he maybe didn't seem warmed up, didn't seem sharp, but he certainly has done since, and he is making a real impact on this match.
Impact now is more important for every single player, I think, on the side of Na'Vi. They are now down a round, and again, 2 more rounds is all it takes for TSM to storm through into playoffs and send Na'Vi home at the group stage of the Six Invitational. Geo, once again, TSM really starting to fly with these opening kills now in at these rounds. Nello is down, another one comes down now with Merc being down on the outside, and Pi will finish that one off. So now we are at 4 apiece. It is so blow for blow with these boys. It is back and forth in every single round, and it is an absolute delight to see.
It really is. So 1 minute off the clock, we can see that Bolo is heading in quickly to admin, and he is supported by Achieved. 4 versus 4 in round number 10, and TSM have themselves a slight advantage. We are on a mid-floor bomb site, so what TSM are trying to do here is clear out these top floor defenders first of all, so that they can gain the site control vertically that they need in order to push in and get a diffuser down. Now, moving somebody out of meeting is not necessarily easy here. They don't have a Hibana on the board. You may well sometimes open up the long desk wall. They should still be able to do that with the thermite of Pojo Man if they wish to. It should be fairly safe. There's nobody playing down. They will take a more direct route though, as Pojo Man can move in and get the kill onto Pi. That clears things out. Bolo now has an angle through the connector room and out towards yellow stairs, so that largely cuts off any rotations back to site unless the console hatch has been opened for the defenders. That could well leave, I think it's Kendrew on the Valkyrie, just a little bit stranded up there.
The organisation of TSM on the attackers looked a lot better than what it did for Na'Vi, because both teams defend this top floor with 3 defenders. Spray through the wall, and Bolo will find that one. This is now the 2nd or 3rd time we've seen TSM send 2 or 3 men upstairs to fight against the 3 defenders of Na'Vi, who don't trade off each other, who don't play around each other, and one by one they are dropped. Na'Vi are literally losing this game because of these upstairs defenses. They've got to change something, and they've only got 1 more round potentially to make those changes work for them. I would expect to see a timeout after this one if this round doesn't go their way, and it is quickly descending into chaos. They are in full control. Citizen on the upstairs has been very quiet this entire map. Now that diffuser is down. I think he missed a man just below him as well. Unfortunate, but he's in a 4 versus 1 with 40 seconds on the clock.
Citizen gets a view through the floor though and will take Bolo out. That leaves us now 3 versus 1, but Citizen has an absolute mountain to climb. He's got about 25 seconds or less, 20 seconds now to achieve this. Pings are coming out, and all that's going to happen is TSM are just going to retire and play deeper and deeper and deeper until Citizen comes to them, and Achieved will be ready. The second that he does, look at that angle through onto the spiral staircase there. Absolute beautiful shot from Achieved, and that will put put TSM now on match point here, and they could well take this in 2 maps. TSM have looked absolutely deadly on the attack here, and you're dead right, Des. The top floor has not been kind to Navi, so I'm surprised in that case to not have seen the garage cafeteria defense, because they've been struggling to keep sites whereby top floor is essential to both sites. So maybe try the one that isn't.
The tactical timeout coming through like we anticipated about a minute ago or so. They know this is do or die. There are no more second chances. There is no more rounds they're allowed to lose. There is no lower bracket waiting for them. This is the lower bracket Na'Vi. You've got to buck your ideas now, and I hope you boys are ready. It appears they're going to be staging their final stand, their last stand here in Montreal on Archives and Tellers as the final site. If you recall, last time we played this site, TSM torn them asunder from above. They had no response. They could not deal with the aggression coming out of TSM. And here on Consulate, TSM are showing such great coordination on the attacking side of things. I've said it before and I'll say it again. A single round has been won by Na'Vi in this half because TSM are so coordinated on their attacks, and it is brilliant to see them back in the form that we saw on day one.
And at this tournament are having a field day.
They are.
It really doesn't stop here. They've been so impressive. You know, we've commented on the disparity maybe between the sort of lower skill and higher skill teams in the NA Pro League, but what I will say is Dark Zero, TSM, Space Station Gaming, all putting down serious claims for being 3 of the biggest names in the world when it comes to Siege. Don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of challenge to come from EU as well, but they really have put down a marker here, and what is more important is I think they are showing real growth.
Think of the storyline. TSM beat Na'Vi here in BDS versus Rec win. There are 4 NA teams through. Who is the last hope that EU can ride on? G2, last year's winners, the final hope, the team that came in as an invite with the recent pickup in Sir Boss are our final hope. Love or hate the fact they got an invite. If you're an EU fan, that is all you've got to ride on, and that is...
You better start loving it.
This is going to be a, am I stuck in here with you or are you stuck in here with me? And I'm so excited to see how those playoffs boil down, what the storyline it would be. We of course can't forget there's also Team Empire if it really boils down to it. I am slightly concerned for Empire. They are against Fnatic later on, which I can see them winning.
Tough game.
But exactly that. We just don't know what to expect from Fnatic. So let's see if it boils down to being that 1 versus 4 story that we've just been speaking about. And TSM would be the start of the landslide for NA, with Space Station already through as well. But today, on day number 3, TSM will be the start of it all.
Let's not write Na'Vi off just yet.
Not.
We saw it in Japan. We know that they can play from behind. We know that they're not scared when things look tough. They are happy to get down and dirty. They are happy to go for those fights and to try and win them. TSM did extremely well on this attack last time around. I'm sort of surprised to see Na'Vi choose this as their final stand, the hill that they will die on, because they really were dispatched with ease on this site last time around from TSM. They are going to have to do something differently here. It has been a little bit slower than it was last time, which is a good thing. I think extra utility has been expended. Saves with a great Nitro kill onto Pojo, man. That is a good start for Na'Vi. They need this round, they need the next round to push us into another overtime. We can see now Bolo able to repel into admin and push aggressively through there once again. We've seen him do it time and time again. He's using that scanner to just burn out and take out any electronic devices that he can to give his team the advantage when it comes down to that execution phase.
A lot more utility was stacked up here by Na'Vi this time. We saw the ADS being put down. It was a grenade from Achieve last time round that caught out, I believe it was Saves, and saw him barbecued inside of admin, so he was no more to be a part of that round. This time round, rather than losing 2 on the top floor, Na'Vi have found 1 and then dropped out. They have wasted time, which is good. Geo finds 1 though inside of Visa, bringing down Pi right now. So once again, 2 Giants going back and forth. Honestly, I would be more impressed by the stat to know how many rounds have ended at 4 and 4, because it doesn't matter which team gets the opening kill, the other team has always struck back almost immediately.
So 4 versus 4 at this point, and we've got some good top floor control coming in for TSM, but the question is now, what can they do with it? They've certainly got a lot less time on the clock than they had last time around when attacking this site. It's the last 30 seconds, and this is tense. It's going to be a bloodbath. We've got a man man in Tellers for Na'Vi, just looking to defend from there. Now Merc steps in. The soft wall there, I'm not sure if it's reinforced on the far side of this. No, it's not, so he can move in through there if necessary. Bolo will move in, make a challenge, unsuccessfully at the moment as he pops through the wall. He will be taken out by Nello. Great plays from him. Now there is a man on the other side. Nello with a second kill, and net saves with the third. Geo takes Citizen out in there, but the advantage is strongly with Navi as Kendrew moves in with a final kill onto Geo, and that was an absolute brawl in the last 10 seconds of that round.
A brawl on the site nonetheless. When defending these sites, it is very, very uncommon to see two defenders playing inside of Tellers, but that is exactly what Na'Vi went for. Holding opposite corners behind reinforced walls, they had each other covered. And Nello getting that double kill was absolutely massive for them. So a bit of a transformation to what you would normally see on that site, but they managed to make it work. Are we going, Ace, to yet another overtime here? Consulate and Meeting is where Na'Vi are staging this extra hold. I thought the last one would be the last one, to be completely honest with you. It could end up being yet another one as it leads us into overtime.
I'm pretty sure by now, chat, I believe in what I say when I say that I, for some reason, have a habit of casting 12-round plus games. It just seems to happen, and it brings the excitement. It's no good for my heart. It's probably taking 10 years off my life, but you know what? What a great time we're having, so I'll make the sacrifice for everybody else. It's just the kind of guy I am, Des.
Oh, it ages you fast, mate. Already aged enough, but
look at me. Look at what it's doing to me.
You're like a kid in a sweet shop, mate. That's the only way I can describe it right
aged. I am aged.
I'm aged and wrinkled, but definitely not weary of this fixture. 6-5 to TSM, like we say. One round for them, and they go through. One more round for Na'Vi. It forces us into overtime. We may yet see Villa come to be. And I don't want this fixture to end. We said back on Coastline, after map 1, this deserves to go all the way. It could yet still go all the way. Last defense then coming up on the top floor. A couple of changes coming through for Na'Vi. Still sticking by bringing Kendrew on that Valkyrie. We've seen every single camera dealt with very deftly by the side of TSM. Sage now coming out on the Goyo, bringing a bit of time-wasting element to it. And even Pi here, playing on the Vigil, is looking to cause a bit of chaos in the doorway. He's actually laid down here. He may catch Bolo out if he's not careful, but Bolo knows. He's seen it down. He gets the down, and Pi has been destroyed there. Great read from Bolo to know that someone was playing on there based on a single panel of wood being missing from that door.
I'm really not going to criticise Pi there, but the shots initially were going above him, and it seemed like he panicked and moved and tried to run away, and that is understandable. Bolo may well have got that kill anyway. He was potentially pre-firing, expecting somebody at the bottom, and he may well have moved over there and dropped his sight down. What I would be interested to see is if he had done or not, or whether Pi could have just stayed prone, let the shots go over the top of him and then make a challenge. That would have been very interesting. But Bolo, fantastic to recognise that that was a possibility. It is something that teams may well try to do if they want to be a bit more aggressive. And Navi obviously wanting to just roll the dice one last time and come out swinging, if nothing else. If they're going home, they're going to do it in style. And Pi was hoping to get a big opener for his team, but he won't be successful. Geo gets a kill onto Citizen using that Goyo shield in reverse. You always have to be careful of your own utility. Merc onto saves, and TSM here moving in like an absolute whirlwind, a tour de force, moving through Consulate at the minute with ease, cutting through Navi. There is very little that they can do to withstand this onslaught at the minute. It is currently 2 TSM members are down though. Merc will get the Claymore kill, and that leaves the hopes of Navi on Kendrew, and the hopes will be dashed against the walls of Consulate as TSM take the win and head into the playoffs here Tuesday and Wednesday at the Six Invitational 2020. Fantastic game from them. Clinical display of siege.
Absolutely dominant in that final round. A flawless round to propel NA's hopes even further into the future. And they said it yesterday, I'll repeat it again for probably the third or fourth time during this series. They knew yesterday was an off day. They were confident coming in today that today would be a 2-0. It was a 2-0, but my God, was it close. 8-6 on the first map, 7-5 on the second. I think Na'Vi can, even though probably be feeling very dejected they got knocked out at this point, they can be very happy with their heads raised high that they have played a good game of Siege today against one of the best teams in the world. We said it was a shame that we would see one of them going home. It's now been realised, it's the EU team, but there's going to be hopes being carried forward here. by TSM to go forward and show excellence with both the NA teams, Space Station Gaming and TSM, progressing out of Group B.
For me, there is absolutely no question coming out of Group B that NA have been superior. Obviously, it's easy to say they are the two teams that have qualified, but as much as it pains me to say it, you know, I have to give credit where it's due, and the NA teams have stepped up. They have shown growth, they have shown depth, they have shown skill and ability, and they have shown that they are such a danger in this tournament, and they could well be going on to success. Either one of them that have come through what was a very difficult group, so I want to give a huge shout out both to TSM and to Space Station Gaming. They have done fantastically well coming through here, and the EU teams, they've just been found wanting. That's the bottom line.
I think growth is probably the perfect word I think you can use to describe the region, because for EU, we've got Empire a little bit stuck in the past. G2, who have found themselves lost. The recent change looking pretty good for them so far. We'll see if that continues in towards the playoffs. Na'Vi, who after their win at the Pro League Finals have entered a bit of a lull, and Rogue, whose land curse continues. But for the teams from NA, as you say, progress has been made. This could be their year. It may not be an all-EU final this year. In fact, if nothing else, I'd wager that exactly is what it is not going to be. But we were treated there to an incredible game of Siege. That much I can't take away. It was 2-0. We said the same about Fnatic back on day one. The score doesn't reflect the quality of the game. That is a wonderful game to watch back on both Coastline and Consulate, to see two of the best teams in the world really going at it.
I think people are always going to be wanting us to come in and cast the first game of the day. When we do, it goes absolutely insane.
Both with Na'Vi involved as well.
Follows through the rest of the day. We can see the Group that's difficult. Group B bracket. That one was tough. Group B bracket in front of us there. We can see the ultimate teams to advance there. Space Station Gaming and TSM. As we've said, most fixtures in there. The upper bracket fixtures all going 2-1. Lower bracket matches coming out at 2-0. But Na'Vi very up and down in terms of form there. They struggled on the first day. Had a great showing against Rogue, although 7-5 on both maps. Still a 2-0 victory, and they looked convincing throughout most of it, even though Rogue did play very well. Ultimately though, TSM there were just an absolute force, and that's not even necessarily a comment that Na'Vi didn't show up, but Na'Vi played very well. I'm not going to take anything away from TSM's performance by trying to say that Na'Vi didn't do what they needed to do there, because they played very well. They played in unexpected ways. They were putting stealth diffusers down. They were not easy to play against. The roam game on Coastline, for example, through the first few rounds was clinical from Na'Vi, but TSM have had the answer at every single turn. Really impressed with them.
Absolutely. I think the biggest key thing there for me for TSM was dealing with the wildness of Na'Vi as well. The jump outs, the run outs, the craziness of citizen flanks. They dealt with the whole lot, and they now see themselves going through to the playoffs. But we still have 3 more games of Siege to come. How will your hearts maintain? How will Port Ace still be alive by the end of the day? After the break, we have got Team BDS coming up against Team Reciprocity. Can BDS be one of the final hopes for EU, or will Reciprocity deal another nail into the coffin for EU? Stay tuned, and we'll see you guys just after the break.